Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the City of Delray Beach's regular commission meeting scheduled for Tuesday, December 12th, 2023 at 5 p.m. We are 20 minutes behind schedule. Please call the roll.
Mr. Franco.
Present.
Mr. Long.
Present.
Mr. Boylston.
Present.
Ms. Burns.
Here.
Mayor Petrolia.
Here, if we could please stand for the pledge. We are at agenda approval. Any additions, deletions, removals, discussions?
Yes,
Okay.
I'd like to remove the item 6.1 and 7, 6I7.
6I,
For discussion. From the
7.
consent.
But I think right now we're just approving the.
Okay.
Well, we can.
do you want to?
Yeah, we can do it. So it's fine, because
Well-
then we can just move right through. Okay, this is 6I7. That's the EJS,
Right.
okay.
Okay.
7AA. Anyone else?
Lynn, if I wanted to 6H1, any of the appealable, should I just pull
H1, did you say?
6H1?
You can just pull the specific one that you want to discuss. I think it's the Delray Townhomes Part 1 through 4.
Subculture, East Atlantic,
It's
or the
subculture
townhomes?
and Delray Townhomes.
Both of them?
Okay, both? Okay, so we're going to have that as 7. Are we going to discuss that, or would we just, is that going to be moved to the next, because it's an appealable?
No, I think it's for discussion, and
Okay.
then you'll just have a separate vote.
Okay, so 6AA and 6. Did I just
7
say?
BB
7, I'm
and
sorry,
7
7 BB and 7 CC. Thank you. 7 CC. Anything else? Are we good? All right. Entertain a motion as amended.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Second.
All right, call the roll, please.
Mr. Long.
Yes.
Mr. Boylston.
Yes.
Ms. Burns.
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to invite Miss Lachey King up here to give us the most recent employee of the month, Mr. Spencer Britt, I believe.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Mayor. I'm Lachey King, Human Resources Journalist. Today is a special day as we take a moment to recognize the outstanding efforts of our employees. So with that, help me welcome to the podium our Employee of the Month, Spencer Britt.
You know they're all here for you, Spencer.
Hi, good evening. My name is Cynthia Bisson. I'm the Assistant Director of Public Works.
There you go.
Okay, maybe it's just me,
Perfect.
sorry. So good evening, Cynthia Bisson. I'm the Assistant Director of Public Works, and I'm honored to be here today to speak on behalf of Spencer, who joined Public Works in February, transitioning from the city's utilities department, where he had 28 years of a career so far. So Spencer has seamlessly integrated into our team, bringing with him a wealth of knowledge and experience that has proven invaluable to our team. In his current role as the Stormwater Superintendent, Spencer has been nothing short of a game changer. His impact has been immediate and profound, making a difference on the projects he oversees for us. With his over 30 years of experience, Spencer is not just leading, but he's also teaching his team the ropes of stormwater operation, maintenance, and construction. One of the things that sets Spencer apart is his hands-on approach to leadership. Instead of merely guiding his team from afar, he immerses himself with them in the day-to-day activities, working side by side with his team. Spencer's commitment to ensuring that every task is not only completed, but completed with excellence, serves as an inspiration to us all. In the short time since taking on his role, Spencer has become a beacon of knowledge and a mentor to his colleagues. His willingness to share his expertise, coupled with his tireless work ethic, has created a positive and dynamic work environment within our stormwater team. Spencer, your journey with us may be relatively short, but the impact you've made is immeasurable. On behalf of the entire Public Works team, I extend our heartfelt congratulations on being named Employee of the Month. This recognition is not just an acknowledgement of your hard work, but a testament to the outstanding leadership and dedication you bring to our organization. Well deserved, Spencer, and congratulations.
So, Spencer, on behalf of the commission and the city of Delray, we'd like to give you this beautiful plaque.
Thank you.
And a certificate for 8 hours off with pay. A picture right here.
Yep.
Yes. Might be the opposite. They're very specific. Thank you. Congratulations. Thanks for everything you're doing, Spencer. It's amazing when you go from one department to another and you make such an impression in such a short period of time. Congratulations, Spencer. Happy to have you here. All right, moving on to our second presenter, and I saw her walk in. We are very excited that that Erica Whitfield from the our school board member representative is here to give us her, I guess, information over the year. Great to have you here, Erica.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak before you all, Commission and Mayor. This is something that I have committed to during my time on the board. I've actually been on the board 9 years now, so I've been here many times before
Wow.
you. But I try to come every year really just to give you a little update on some of the things that I think are important to the school system, but also be here for any of your questions. So if there's anything that you want to talk about, I am open to absolutely anything, but I'll give you a quick presentation on just some of the things that I think are important. So one of the first things I'm going to talk about is kindergarten readiness. Then I'll talk about our most recent appearance in the news yesterday with our new rating of our school system. So we'll talk briefly about that. And then I'm passing around to you our legislative priorities. This is something that the school board puts together and we approve as a group before legislative session. So I think it's appropriate to share with you in case we have any overlaps. And then if you are interested, well, I'll just mention briefly about the allocation of funds for Old Carver High. So first of all, kindergarten readiness. This is something that I think is crucially important to our system when we start talking about reading scores and how we as a school system are working so hard to improve what the product that we offer, which is education. One of the things that we have really recognized is the importance of early education. So it's something I've worked on in Palm Beach County for a long time. I've actually run a committee right here in Delray Beach trying to work with our private providers as well as our public providers, because I think it's really a global approach that we have to take. Also working with our Early Learning Coalition, I think is really important, and I did serve on that group for quite a while. So what we did this past year is we really focused on getting kids signed up for kindergarten. So really we called it Kindergarten Roundup. Now it's going to be called Kindergarten Kickoff this year. That is going to occur in around April. All the schools do it together at the same time now. That was one of our initiatives to really streamline our marketing so that everyone in the county knows now is the time to go sign your kindergartner up. So we're having everybody do it in the same week. They can choose the day, whatever school it is. And I would love the support from this commission to also share that information on your social media. So one of the things that I've asked our staff to do is share that with each of our municipalities so that you can be a part of that marketing that we're doing, because I believe that if everybody's kind of saying the same thing, sign your kid up for kindergarten, we're going to get those signups happening early. Why is that important? Well, if we can get them signed up early, we can give them our kindergarten readiness kits that we've purchased as a school system. They are at every one of our elementary schools. They have just little kits in them. It took me a little while to get one, but I finally got one in my hands. I have a 3-year-old, so I did it with her. She's not ready for kindergarten, in case you're wondering. Now that I've assessed that situation, we do have to continue with our pre-K. So they have letters, numbers, and little activities that you can do with your students so that every student has some access. But kindergarten readiness is really assessed in that first 2 weeks of school. So we test every kindergartner when they come in. We do an assessment and we see, are you ready for kindergarten? So that's recognizing letters and numbers. It's understanding the sound that goes with each letter. Really basic things like that. Also, really we need students to have had some access to a formalized education setting so that they know how to sit still, raise their hand, if they have to go to the bathroom, like those kind of things are really important. And a kindergarten teacher will spend quite a bit of time working on that if they haven't had access to any kind of a formalized education before they get to us. So if you look in your legislative priorities, which I'll talk about more, the other thing we really push is VPK. VPK is the state funded program where you can actually do voluntary pre-K, so it's not mandated, but everyone has the ability to participate. Unfortunately, it's only 3 hours a day, so we are asking the state, again, for the millionth time, to fully fund it through the full day. So I think it should just be that you show up and you have the opportunity as a 4-year-old to participate in a pre-K program. It can be public, it can be private. The most important thing is that it's quality, and quality programs are assessed by the Early Learning Coalition, not us, and they will tell you whether or not your school is great. So if you're watching this and you're looking for a place to put your child as a 4-year-old, you can call the Early Learning Coalition and they will tell you. They have a hotline. It's really actually quite sophisticated. So the other thing that we did is we really made sure there was a partnership between the school system and all of our private providers. So every elementary school is reaching out to all the pre-Ks that feed into them to make sure there's a connection so that we can inform them of what we're looking for. So through that work, through the work with the Early Learning Coalition, through the kindergarten readiness, all of these things that we're doing, we actually increased our scores last year 3 percentage points. We were very excited about this. So students coming in, we can see that they have actually gotten more information. And we put together a bunch of videos that are available on our website. So if a parent is home, they can actually watch those videos and know how to interact with their students in a productive way. And they are in English, Spanish, and Creole. So very excited about all that work. With that little bit of score increase, I think we're going to see the importance of this because and we're going to be working on this more this year. So that was just the first year we did it. So I think it's really important. I think there's a role for the city to play in participating with us and getting students into kindergarten and VPK early, on time, and ready to go, because we know that when a student is starts behind, they stay behind. It's very, very difficult to make up that ground. So we want every student to have an opportunity to have quality early childhood education. Okay, so talking about that, now I'll move into the rating that just came out yesterday. The state came down with their new ratings for the year. The unfortunate news was that the school district went from being A-rated last year to now we are B-rated. What is kind of interesting about it is our scores actually went up, but the standard to be an A also went up. So we went up a few points, but it went up even more than that. So the only urban A-rated district in the state of Florida now is Miami-Dade, but we still retain second place. Unfortunately, we missed it by just that much. Really, it's just informational because, as many of you know, especially those with children, we had last year a brand new curriculum given to us, new testing that was done, and so none of the scores that we get this past year, are being held against anybody. They're not even being really recorded, so it was just for informational purposes only. But we still retained our high-performing district status. We're still number 2 of all the urban 7, which is really a good thing. This is just a baseline year for them to set up where we're going to go. And one of the things the school district of Palm Beach County is really known for is what we call learning gains, which means you take a baseline year of testing and then you see how many students actually grow within that year, not just, so if you're A and you stay an A as a student, like an A grade, which is really a 5, you don't get learning gains for that because that student is just staying the same. They're doing great and we count them, we're very proud of them, but the student who goes from like a C to an A, we get more points for that. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So this school system this year didn't get learning gains. It didn't count as part of our numbers. So next year we'll probably see that increase because we'll get that back, and we do a really good job at that. Okay, so the other thing that's really important to know is that our acceleration is very high. Acceleration means that we put a kid in an AP class, an IB class, all of those really high-level classes that we know make a difference in children's lives. We are pushing really hard to get those students into higher level programming, they're doing very, very well. And as a school system, not only are we putting them in those classes more frequently, but they're passing more frequently. And so we actually are 70% passing right now. We're second only to Duval in that. So it's something really to be proud of, and I'm very proud of it. As far as our legislative priorities, which I passed out to you, I'm just going to talk about a couple really quickly because I don't want to take your meeting and I need a lot of other things to go. But a lot of them really come down to funding. This past year, we had our voucher program come through for the first time. The voucher program is something the state came up with where they take the funding and instead of allocating the funds per student, which for us is not great as the state of Florida, we're 47th in the country for funding for students. We get about $8,000 per student, not including any special funding on top of that. That $8,000 of funding will actually follow the student to their private school now, which has never happened in the past. We have always had specialized programs where it could follow them to a private school, but you had to apply and it was more difficult. There were income requirements. This past year, all the requirements went away. Any student in a private school where the private school accepted the dollars could apply. Not every school in our community has decided to accept the dollars from the state, but I think you're going to start seeing more of them doing that. This past year, the state put aside $400 million to follow these students for the voucher program. If every student in the state of Florida who's in private school chose to go through the voucher and get their funding, it would be $4 billion impact to the state budget. So it's not enough to really cover everyone, but they did allocate funds that were enough for this year. And so as long as they continue to grow that program in accordance with the projections of people who would like to go to private school, then our budget wouldn't be impacted. So that's a really big piece of our legislative priority, is to make sure that we are not being impacted by this. If we are impacted and we end up having to prorate the dollars that we get from the state, it's going to really impact education that we can provide. So that's important. So we're asking for them to do that. Also, Postome and Douglas, we have had a lot of safety and security requirements, mental health requirements, all of those things. We have asked the state to fully fund. In lieu of them fully funding it, they do give us some money, but not enough. In lieu of them fully funding it, we have come to you all and you've been very generous to give us the referendum dollars. Thank goodness we still have that. So you do fund a big portion through that extra referendum dollars that we get from property taxes to be able to help with teacher pay, mental health funding, and safety and security, which has been really important. Also, there's a referendum, the penny sales tax, we get a half of that. That goes to capital improvements. A lot of that has gone to infrastructure and making sure that our schools are safe with single point entry, fencing, doors that are, very secure and all that. So those funds also come from the community. So we always ask for more funding for both of those. And then I'll mention the metal detectors. This past year, we created a metal detector program. We asked for funding from the state to fund that. So we are putting metal detectors in every high school. We did a pilot where we did 4 high schools. It's gone very, very well. It really hasn't slowed down people getting into the school. And it's helped make sure that nothing is coming in that's a large metal object, so they get screened. And so I think it's just more of a way to dissuade kids from bringing anything onto the campus and then continue to protect our schools. They are metal detectors, not like TSA at the airport. They're like going into coals. So it's like those ones that you just kind of walk through and it's not so invasive. And they just pull students aside. So we can do it pretty quickly, which is really nice. I will also mention just really briefly the idea around making sure that and I bring this up to you guys every year, but the concordance scores that I've mentioned to you over and over and over again, basically what happened is the state of Florida has multiple ways that you can graduate. Our state standardized testing is one option, but you can also use the SAT and the ACT, which is a nationally normed test versus a state normed test. Some of our students do better on a nationally normed test, so you can take the SAT, and in lieu of passing your FAST test, you can pass that. They've raised the scores. The state has decided to raise the scores that are acceptable for that. unfortunately, when that kicks in, last year we got a pass on it. When it kicks in this year, and I don't think they're going to give us a pass, but we're going to ask again, we are anticipating a drop in our graduation rates up to 10%. So when that happens and you see Atlantic High School's grade come down, remember your school board member came and warned you. This is why it happened. So we are doing everything in our power to overcome that, but I do think there's going to be an impact. So you will see that. Okay, with that, I will stop. Oh, and just to say the allocation of funds, I'm sorry. As you all know, and I know everyone here is aware of, but I just want to make sure to tell everybody in the audience, we have allocated the additional funds for Old Carver High School / Delray Full Service Center. So those buildings that have not been fixed yet, we now have $22 million that will be going towards fixing it. We will be putting that all towards technical vocational education on that site. It's going to be beautiful. As you can see, we've done a lot that's really, really nice. And so hopefully that'll be in the new plan. So you can thank the superintendent for prioritizing that and really wanting to put some effort into maintaining the history of Old Carver High School for the community. So I'll stop there. Any questions? I am available.
Well, we were just speaking about the school board just before you came in at our workshop meeting, because we've been doing a lot of tree planting on the campuses, so we'll probably follow through with you at another time on that. You know, I think that there's some real concerns that you just brought up, and especially with the money going to private institutions, I worry deeply about how that's going to affect our public school system. I'm not sure that was the right thing to do, but we're not, you know, it is what it is. It's the state making decisions for everybody here. Anyway, thank you so much for coming in and speaking, and I'm going to open it up to anybody who has a question from the commission, starting with the vice mayor.
No, I'm all set.
You're good? How about
Thank you.
Commissioner? Nope.
Thank you.
You good? Thank you so much for the update. We so appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Thank you guys
Take
for
care.
having me. I
Thank you.
appreciate
Yep.
it. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, Erica.
Happy holidays. All right, moving on to public comments, and inquiries on the agenda and non-agenda items. First, start with Mr. Moore. Anything?
Not at this time, thank you.
All right, so we're going to open up to the public. This meeting is now open to the public comment. Anybody wishing to speak on any topic or agenda item other than a quasi-judicial item or a public hearing item, those items will be called for later. Everybody needs to sign in, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes, and make sure that your comments are directed to the commission.
Yeah, I signed in, yes.
Always, especially this time of year.
Ready? Okay.
Yes,
Yvonne
ma'am.
Odom, 3905 Lawson Boulevard. I have two things I want to talk about.
Okay.
First of all, Mayor, City Commissioner, my heart is proud because on behalf of Corey Dion Goff and her family, I'm telling you, as my old principal say, you done good.
Yes, you did.
From the DDA, the signs were so surprising. The police department who escorted her,
Absolutely.
and whoever gave that big, huge car for her to drive in.
Somebody
I
asked
was
me
a
if that
proud person.
Somebody asked me if that was the parting gift to Coco Golf. I said, I don't think so, but
No, but I just wanted to make sure. I did talk to Mom and Dad to make sure they know that I was coming. I was going to come anyway, but I wanted to make sure that we publicly thank this city who I've grown to love. Mom and Dad grew up here, grandparents. So this is my city, and you have shown her very proud. She was happy. She had a smile on her face, and everybody loves Corey
Coco.
Dion Goff. Thank
Absolutely.
you very much.
well, we were
Now
so
for my-
proud to have her in the parade, and thank you for allowing her to be in our parade. It was
Right.
amazing.
Now for the bad news.
All right, here we go.
Yes. I'm here because I do not like the idea of EJS taking on the American Legion without you giving the American Legion. It pains me because I know EJ, I know all the kids that he worked with, but the American Legion deserves. And I think both attorneys should be fired, is my opinion, because I think the attorney for the American Legion, is me talking, was not very favorable to you guys, and I think they got punished for it. They are a group of people who don't have means, but they have served this country, and their building should not be taken from them. So I think if both parties fire their attorneys, and they had an agreement, and then attorneys got involved. You know, attorneys want money, so that's just the bottom line. So I'm not going to belabor that, but I just don't think you could sit well with those Legion people who built that building in the time when it was segregated and they served this country. So that's just Yvonne Odom's opinion. So thank you very
so much. Yes, sir.
Hi, Albert Richwagon, 298 Northeast 6th Avenue, Delray Beach. I'd like to enter those into the record or to give to the commission. So I'm here about the Subculture Coffee mural. The mural is currently being painted after being denied by the DDA 5-0. They then went 2 weeks later to the art board and got it approved 6-0. They never came and talked to any of the neighboring property owners, not about parking, not about the mural. While we appreciate and enjoy art, we object to the mural's current design. The mural is not consistent with downtown Delray Beach. We also believe that this project should not qualify as a mural, since the owner is painting the entire building, 3 sides. It should be classified as painting and should go to an approving board. This is to prevent future owners who are not allowed to paint certain colors from obtaining mural approvals to circumvent this rule. The mural is currently being painted, and we just don't think that it's very fitting for the neighborhood or for Delray.
Well, I believe it was pulled off of the agenda. We're going to probably have a discussion about it because nobody should be painting prior to us going through the entire process. So thank you for bringing it to our attention, and we appreciate
We
you
feel
coming
like it's
in.
par for the course of everything that he's done. He built the entire place out ever before getting a parking in lieu of or a change of use. And now he's painting the mural without anybody really saying it's okay.
All right,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
Hi, good evening. Daniel Rose, 323 Northeast 6th Avenue. I'm also here with Mr. Richwagon on the same issue with this Subculture Coffee. There's a couple issues. He basically appears to be doing whatever he wants, like with this mural. And I actually represent an artist that had a whole showing at Art Basel, so I'm the last person in this world that doesn't like art. In fact, when I was on the CRA, I was very critical about getting stuff for the Arts Warehouse and everything else. So my love for the arts will never be questioned. I have paintings all over my office. My concern with everything is it was done, the DDA rightfully so denied it, because again, they never come to us. I've never met the guy. I've never heard from Rodney Mayo. My neighbors haven't. That's why Charlotte, who's my neighbor, Price's Auto, wrote letters. She's sick today, so she said, please bring a letter. We have a picture of them actually painting. And the problem is, like I said, they didn't ever come to us and say, hey, we're painting. Do you like this, or what suggestions or anything? My other issue is, again, like Mr. Richwagon said, it's painting the whole building. A mural would be like these, I guess you can call them bricks right here, these stones. That's a mural, in my opinion. If you did it all over these three walls out of the 4, the side wall being not visible and the back wall not being used, that's not a mural. It's a mural is what's by the tennis center, that white wall that's beautifully painted with some really nice art that was really well done. That's a mural, or the stuff we're trying to do at the entrance on Atlantic Avenue. My concern about the parking is legitimate. I have 4 spaces. There's 2 no parking spaces on each side, so my cars can back out, and my clients and everything else where there's a bike path, so we have to protect the bicyclists. They're going to park there because there's no signage, and no one understands the white stripes or no parking. I think I was 16, like many years ago, when I took my written driving test to understand that. So those are the problems, and from what I'm being told, it's not going to be like what we had, the really nice place on Atlantic and Swinton, where you come in at 7 to 4 and we can get drinks, coffees and iced teas and cakes. It's going to be run like West Palm. It's going to be open late. There's going to be beer and wine. So it's essentially, in my opinion, it's a bar dressed up as a coffee shop. So my concern is the amount of people it can hold and everything else. The safety hazard, as well as you're aware, there's 2 areas on Federal Highway because they're not lit properly. Like from 2nd to 5th, there's no lights on Federal Highway. By the Anthony's Pizza place, there's a lot of crashes. We know that. We get them 2 on 1st. on 3rd. When they make the left turn, we've seen many cars hit the pole over exactly in front of Subculture. The painting the way it is with all 3 sides then would become an extra distraction the way it is, where people are going to stop and look at it because it's art, and that's going to cause even more traffic. So my bigger issue is the parking and safety issue, on top of the fact that this mural wasn't even discussed. We didn't even know about the meeting. I know about the DDA meeting to send them a letter prior, but I had no idea about this parking advisory board in Candley. I didn't even know they existed.
Public art.
Advisory, and they're an advisory board. They're not elected, so they're making decisions to circumvent our rules.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Price Patton, 1020 Cameron Road. I'm here on behalf of the Delray Beach Preservation Trust. We unanimously approved an agenda. May I enter it into the record?
You may.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to read the agenda because there's a long line of people behind me, but we oppose the paving of the. I sent you all an email, by the way, with the resolution.
We saw it.
We oppose the paving of it. We think that Richard Heisenbottle did an exhaustive study of Atlantic Avenue. He determined that this is an historic space, and it's also our LDRs, our comprehensive plan. They all say we should do our best to preserve open spaces as well as recreational spaces. So we're here to try and preserve not only our places but our spaces. And we're kind of in the historic element of the comp plan lists us as partners. So we consider ourselves your historic partners. And as I said to one of you this weekend at the bowl thing, we're kind of like your historic conscience. We whisper in your ear. We hope that you listen to us. You don't listen to your conscience sometimes you do. So please read the thing, and if there's anything we can do to help. The only final thing I want to say real quickly is the building itself was built by Frederick Jacobson, the architect who did this remodel of City Hall. He's one of the best mid-century architects in the city. He's one of the most famous. It's in pretty bad shape, I can see, and so in historic terms, we call that a demolition by neglect. It needs a sprucing up, and we would help in any way we can to write grants for state grants and stuff like that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks for coming in, Bryce. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Siobhan Baroian, 323 East Atlantic Avenue. I'm here representing Periwinkle, Morley & Coco & Co. I want to start by thanking all of you who took time to chat with me over the last few weeks about parking, and especially to Michelle. I don't know if she's here. We've become besties over the phone, as I've called the office many times. But I really do appreciate all of your time. I know it's a busy time of year. I have to admit I'm a bit confused about where we stand with parking after how that workshop just left off. It seems like three of you, I imagine, 3 of you are like wanting to pause.
You'll have to ask the city manager. I mean, not right now, but
okay, yeah, later on. We'll be in touch. And I mean it. I'm just like, how attached are you to this plan that was presented? Like, I had a great conversation with the deputy vice mayor yesterday. I think as business owners, we have a lot of information about the nuts and bolts behavioral analysis that the statistics might not necessarily show. We have the why behind the statistics, if you will. On that note, no representative from the city came to one of our 3 businesses to ask if we would be interested in an employee parking program. I have notes, but I'm going off of them, so sorry. I do agree that the garage is not the best solution for a number of reasons. However, not providing a place for employees to park will have longer term repercussions for our businesses. The reason why, and this is going off of the point that Commissioner Frankel made, you might not see when you go to Palm Beach or Fort Lauderdale designated places for employee parking is because they have robust permitting programs. They have technologies that they employ. So if we're talking about bringing on new technologies, Park Mobile app, etc., that is a way that employee parking could be worked in. There could be permits, etc. Just an idea. I have many ideas. So my ask, borderline beg, is that you just please keep your businesses and merchants in mind as you're making decisions. All of us want to talk. All of us want to be involved in decisions. So we're here. And again, thank you for your time earlier.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Tanya Kushakian, 441 32nd Street, West Palm Beach. Call me TK for short. Tan the man, Action Kushakian. It's funny, Mac Bernard has a better response when he says that. As you know, we're looking forward to our presentation next month. We've been waiting patiently. We only have 10 minutes, so I was here last month giving you a little bit of an update on some of the things that we've been doing and working on. And so I wanted to use this time again, since this is the last meeting before our workshop. We're really excited. We're really prepared for it, and are we're really eager at the opportunity to speak to you and hopefully bring an affordable housing option, or create the space for low-income affordable housing in Delray Beach. Since that time, we've conducted a poll that found support within Delray Beach at 70% for low-income housing. When you look at the LDR that we're proposing, as we've said publicly, it's going to be focused on the historic Northwest-Southwest set area, which is predominantly African American. Within the city of Delray Beach as a whole, white people support low-income housing at 67%, Hispanic people support it at 64%, Black at 97%, and when you look at MTHU specifically, it's 60% in the Hispanic community, 80% in the Hispanic community, 95% in the Black community. We have over 200 signatures from folks in the set who support this LDR change, because we want to do it in a very judicious manner. One of the other things that was brought up was segregating gender in these type of living arrangements. That's something that we're open to. The majority of these folks are men that are single, that are living at that level of income. And so we're open to having a male-only building, at least at first maybe, and then if there's a demand for a female, we're open to that. But these are things that would happen in a vetting process after the workshop hopefully gets approved, and that says that staff can vet this, that can go through the motions. We've spoken to a lot of people in the community, and we'll be sharing a lot of those feedbacks and comments with you as well. But we definitely don't want a delay. We want to make sure that we have this workshop next month, and that we can finally bring a win-win solution to the people of Delray Beach, to the folks who are asking for it, the 95% of the people who support it in that neighborhood. And let's do something bold, creative, safe, secure, and that stabilizes lives and helps keep some of those folks who are from Delray Beach in Delray Beach. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Lloyd Martin. My address is 6.4 Northwest 3rd Street. And I have attended EJS for 1 year. I was a freshman in high school when I was introduced into EJS. The diversity of people, the humor I have experienced within the year has a great impact on me and my character, not as a member, but as an adolescent boy and transition into a young man. Not only will this building help, it will help EJS as a whole, as this building is located directly in the heart of my neighborhood. And I thank you all for your time.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Leonard Hart. I live at 350 Northwest 4th Avenue. I'm currently a junior at Atlanta High School, and I'm proud to say I've been at EJS for a year now, and I could call them family. I first got introduced to EJS through a partnership with the Achievement Center, and now I'm a full-time student here. EJS provided me with after school one-on-one time where they helped me with schoolwork, like homework and projects, and now it's a safe place where I can call home. I can say that I'm grateful for the people at EJS, like the staff and students that I could call my brothers and sisters. They inspired me to push myself to the fullest and taught me skills in life that helped me grow as a person. So I want other people to use this opportunity to grow. But at our current building, there's no space. So if we get the space EJS is trying to acquire, the students can come and invest their time and use the same opportunity that I've been provided. Thank you for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Jordan Adam. I live on 702 Southwest 10th Street. I am a freshman at Atlanta Community High School, and I have attended EJS for a year and a half. I came to EJS because they provided me a safe place to talk about my problems, receive one-on-one homework help every day, meet new people in different schools, and grades, and they feed me. In time here, I experienced things that I never thought I would experience. I have moved away from being antisocial. However, in the space we are very crowded and there's not enough space for everybody to fit comfortably. We need a new space to call home. Without the EJS project, I'd be doing what I've been doing before my brother and my mom enrolled me. I would have been laying down, playing video games, and not being engaged. Without the EJS project, I usually average a 2.5 GPA, but because the daily pushing I get from being in the EJS project, I achieved a 3.1 last quarter, and looking to continue improving my grade. I attended the last couple of meetings, and I listened to the speakers and the commissioners. I believe that y'all all made the right decision last week, and I hope that you were able to finalize it tonight. Thank you for your time.
Congratulations on your success. Sir.
Montre Bennett, 323 Northwest 2nd Avenue, Dairy Beach, Florida, 33444. We all have the power to make things shake, rattle, and roll. And that simply happens when we work together, when we trust one another, and when we believe together. It is only time to do right, and it is always time to do what is right. Tonight, I reiterate that being together strengthens us. Being separate brings us further apart. Work together to build this kingdom. Work together, City of Delray Beach. Work with the residents in all the communities. Residents work together with this beautiful city. Businesses, nonprofits work together. Work together with the people. Together is where we belong, not separate. We are better together. Let's get this housing workshop done, because people still need somewhere to live. And we can be the leading city once we remove the red tape. We can be the leading city once we remove the red line. The time is now. We can't wait. I'm not waiting no more longer. And y'all gonna see me every week, every 2 weeks, every month, and every day in my 3 minutes here, because the time is now. Again, I'm not gonna wait no more longer. Time is filled and is swift with transition. I want to see change before I leave this place. So do right by the people. Community, work together for the good of all of us. Let the light shine. Let the light shine for good works. Practice mindfulness. Take a few breaths when you get overwhelmed, and then move forward. I reiterate, the time is now for us to no longer work separate. The time is now for us to work together.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Adrienne Kerman, 100 Northeast 5th Avenue, Delray Beach. I'm here on behalf of the EJS project. I am a board member with EJS, but before I was a board member, I was an avid supporter of EJS. Why? Because our students are living proof. Over the past couple years, I've seen students come in. There's over 500 stories of success. That's how many kids we've had come through our doors since the 9 years of inception. They come in with a 1.5 GPA, a lot of them have attitude, let's be honest, but then a year later, they're at 3.5, participating in all of our programs, doing amazing things in the community. They are great kids. Mr. Dupree grew up in these neighborhoods, and most of the kids live in the southwest and northwest neighborhoods. We are asking that you please consider granting our petition to lease this building so that we can not only continue our programs but grow our programming and continue to help the community in any way we can. Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. My name is Patrick McNamara. I'm the President and CEO of Palm Health Foundation. I am coming out to speak in support of the EJS project. We have invested over $1 million in healthier Delray Beach and in the city of Delray Beach over the past 7 years. One of the greatest returns that we have seen from that work was meeting someone like Dupree and seeing the concept, the idea of the EGS project actually coming to fruition, and now the continuing returns. We would like to see them continue. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Lauren Zuckman, Executive Director for BeWell PBC and a Delray Beach resident. Also a very big fan of the EJS project, Dupree Jackson and his staff, and of course the very talented pool of youth that they work alongside. EJS project is an incredible example of how community can support its own to be the most successful. They are not only supporting students now, youth now, to excel in school and in life, but also setting them up for career paths, for the civic engagement that they offer to these students to eventually be homeowners in Delray Beach, to be business owners, to possibly be commissioners in the future. The paths and the space they offer is just, it's amazing. And so I hope that the City Commission and the City of Delray Beach will consider supporting EJS in their, request for a long-term permanency in this city. We need them to be here to continue to support youth. For all they've given to the community, I think it's good to give back to them as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good night. My name is Arif Khan. I'm 3210 Northwest 95th Terrace, Sunrise, Florida 33351. And I am here today as a program coordinator of the EJS project. I'm here to simply shed light on what we do as an organization and why we need to be approved for this space. I have been with EJS since the beginning of 2022, starting off as a program intern and eventually working my way up to a program coordinator by the end of the summer in 2022. An internship that was supposed to last me 2 months to help complete my bachelor's in social entrepreneurship has now turned into a full-time position where I give almost every day to our students and this community. At the time, being an extremely busy undergrad student with his own company and also commuting to work and back home for almost an hour, why did I choose to stay? Well, I'll put it to you simply. Since I have been involved in the EJS project the beginning of 2022, I've seen over 115 students participate in our program on a high relational basis, meaning I have been able to build relationships and watch over 115 students grow throughout our program. These students have spent approximately 25,000 hours with the EJS project since I've arrived. I've seen 78% of our student body increase their GPAs, including cases where students have gone from 1.7 to a 3.5, a 2.1 to a 3.5, a 2.1 to a 3.6, and the list continues. I've seen our students score an average of 101.25 points higher on their SAT scores on their second attempt after they attended our tutoring program here at EJS. I've seen our students spend 33% of their school after school time with us, not at home, not roaming the streets with us, the EJS project. Not to mention, we have achieved these results for underserved students in our community by offering every single program for free for our students. I say all of this to say I hope that you see the importance of the EJS project and why we need a new home. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Cynthia Ridley. I stay at 210 Northwest 2nd Avenue, Delray Beach. Today I just come before you. I talked about 12 Days of Christmas the week before, but today I scheduled so that you can know what we're doing. And we also need toys because last year we was at the plaza. We served over 200 families with free toys. So I might be running a little short this year, so hopefully you would take the time if you're at Walmart, Kmart, and bring me some toys. I gave you my address so you can drop them on my porch as well. So the second thing, I was here at commission meeting, so they could have the schedule. I was here last Tuesday and I was sitting in the back, and to this day I was surprised what came from it, from one of, like you said, don't call no names, that how they raised up out of their seats to address this community. I didn't like it. You were selected to be here at this seat, and if you don't like what you hear from our community and how it's presented, then maybe you don't need to be sitting on this dais. If you're gonna talk to us in that manner, raising out your seats, in any kind of manner, please respect the people that comes here, that voted for you or not voted for you, that sit in this audience. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello, Alex Burns, 2578 Lake Ida Road. I'm here for two reasons: policy and process. Unfortunately, we're here today because of historic building, and the building definitely seems as though to me that we shouldn't even be here having a conversation about it. One of the things that I would ask from you all is that, just like on any other things that we may or may not have issues with, that we create policy so that nothing like this would happen in the future. Meaning, there should be no reason why a building like American Legion Hall should be up for discussion right now in terms of who's taking it over, who has it, yada yada. We have other buildings like the Old School Square building. We have buildings like docks, for that matter, that have been preserved and is being preserved for particular reasons. Something like this, where one of the only places that a black serviceman or person would be able to go to should definitely be preserved, and or should have been preserved, so we wouldn't even be here right now talking about this. That's one. Two, we talk about processes, and if we are to do things in the proper way, we come and we present here the processes that you all put in place. If we're following these processes, then there should be, on the other end of it, an outcome that would be favorable to whomever has completed that process and who has done right by whatever it is that you all put out there. Now, me personally, I would hate to be in your positions right now on this particular matter, because on one hand, I'm in agreement with preserving that building and restoring it, but then on the other hand, I'm also a real stickler about process. And if we're going to respect this dais as a community, and it should be respected, and it's contingent on processes, then I'm on the side of let's follow the process that was laid out that EJS did follow. In the same breath, I still go back to saying, why are we here? Because to me, it feels like a divide and conquer mechanism, and I'm not saying that any one of us put it there, but that's what it feels like. And I'm saying that sometimes perception is reality. So what can we do as a dais to put in policy and/or new procedures that would preserve a building, a historic building like the American Legion Hall? So I would just ask that you consider all that was stated. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Prince Arafat, 813 Southwest 4th Avenue, in the beautiful multi-city of all-American city of Delray Beach. I heard some of the brothers and sisters spoke, especially Mother Odom, about the historical building at Post 183, as we know it as the Legion Hall. There's many good things happen at that building. It's very blight that when we see the fence around that historical building. But as I've been told and I've been informed, there was an agreement. Like Mother Odom said, attorneys need to sit there, I really want to say something, but sit their behind down and let the two parties work it out. See, one thing about when you come to be a leader, you got to make tough decisions. And that's what you was elected to. Sometimes you ain't gonna feel that it's gonna be for the people, sometimes it's gonna be against the people. But the right thing is the right thing. They had an agreement, EJS and the Legion Hall, not putting one of them out. And I think really what's happening today in this political game, you think it's going to divide the city. Well, let me tell you about the division. The city already divided. There's no one white man control the thoughts of every white person. There's no black person control the thoughts of every black person or Hispanic person. Everybody got their own opinion, just like you got your own you know what. So until you make that tough decision, the decision has already been made. There was an agreement, let the agreement be as it was, and both parties can exist. But to sit here and then think that it's going to be an uproar and people are going to be fighting against one another. Only thing we want, the plight of that building, which is a historical building, be put back in the right place. And I think EJS will be the right place, even with the American Legion Hall working together as it always worked together. So there's no, we trying to make this a big thing. It's not a big thing. Sometimes tough people got to make tough decisions. And this is what you was elected for. And over again, the time has come that you think that a couple of people run this side of town. No, this is the community, and the community say let them work together. Bless you.
Thank you, Prince. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Dr. Ashley Ridley Sterling, 210 Northwest 2nd Avenue, Delray Beach. I'm here for community in hopes that there can be a peaceful resolve, that EJS can have a home here. EJS or Dupree has allowed my group, the Millennial Table, to welcome us into his home, and with no cost, no hassle, and it's a challenge to find a place for, my age group to find a home. And he welcomed us with no issue. I am for community. I do pray that there can be a peaceful resolve with the Legion Hall and EJS. And as many people have said, there was an agreement in place. The only hope that I have is that whatever happens, that this building stays with community. It stays with this colorful community, and that EJS has a place. If it's not the Legion Hall, I pray that you find a place for this program. I had the pleasure of spending a full day with his program, with his children, and they blessed me with that process. So I know the work he's doing is life-changing. He's changed my life, and he's changing the lives of other millennials here in Delray Beach. So please, please, please find the love in your heart to find a home for EJS program. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you're the man of the hour.
Yeah, it feels like Dupree Jackson, 30 Southwest 10th Avenue. Man, amazing feeling. We were here about 6 years ago, something similar, but before the CRA board, asking for space of a dream, of a vision we had to impact kids. And here we are with all these testimonies. So it was a special night. I did away with my notes because a lot of the stuff I wanted to say was already said. But I did want to really address the commissioner. Like Prince Arafat said, it's a hard decision need to be made today. But only thing I can give to lend or to help or give a nudge to vote in favor of the EJS project is really the history. A lot of you before me, really all of the elected commissioners, maybe not the city attorney, the city manager, but you saw where this came from, just a vision to, wanting a space, trying to do something, to now, the investment we made in our kids and the return we're getting. Some people talk a big talk, I like to call myself a doer. We called this shot. We called this shot a while ago, and here we are. And I want to call one more shot. And if the city sticks to the city commission sticks to the decision you made last week, I will keep my end of the bargain, which was always for this to be mutually beneficial, right? Where everything's just going to be amplified. We talk about veterans membership, EJS project membership, events that the veterans can hold and give back. events that EJS can hold and give back, and a bunch of other community organizations that we can't even begin to mention. Millennial Table is just one. Our community needs that space. That building needs to stay in the Black community. I feel like right now, at this time, to help make your hard decision, which is a hard decision, as easy as possible, is just look at the track record and what we produce. Because where I sit, we're not up against anything but feelings, and that's hard to compete with when, and not that it doesn't matter, but when we get this far in the game, you just got to go with the paper trail. And yes, it's going to be a hard decision now, but in 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, you guys are going to be saying we made a hard decision, but we made the right one. Our building, our Caring Kitchen will be up, vibrant, a lot of activities, and hopefully Pompeii will be done, so we'll be able to share some of those amenities. But that's all I wanted to say. It's a hard decision, but I have faith you guys will make the right one. So thank y'all.
Thank you, Dupree.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Happy holidays. Laura Simon with the Downtown Development Authority. I just wanted to take a moment, and I know we've had a long night already, but just to say thank you. Thank you for taking time to listen, to collaborate and listen to the merchants, listen to the DDA, listen to the parking board, and just take time for the parking workshop and creating a workshop to do that. So I appreciate the city's support in that. But also just want to say thank you. It's been a year that we've been partnering with the city, with the Downtown Development Authority and the city, with the Old School Square management and activation, and having the museum open, and thanking the city's team, the leadership with the city attorney and city manager and assistant city manager, Parks and Recreation, Public Works, all of the team over there that are working together. Our boards, both past and present, and my staff that are working very hard to make happenings happen at Old School Square. And we have had a very busy year, a busy summer. We have a very busy December. It was great to see everyone at the menorah lighting, to the tree lighting, to we have an event on Friday that we're looking forward to seeing hopefully everybody there, Dirty Dancing Live. We had the parade as part of that. And it's just, I just wanted to really just take time to say thank you, because it does take a village to do a lot of the work that we do for downtown, our businesses, our business community, and our residents to be there to support these happenings. So DelrayOldSchoolSquare.com is the website that we're using, and getting a lot of coverage there, but also DowntownDelrayBeach.com. Please support our downtown for the holidays. We hope to see everybody shopping and dining and just being in downtown for the holidays. And I'll see you later on the agenda. So
Thank you. Yes. And just for the edification of many people who are in this in this chamber right now, our museum over at Cornell, they change out their exhibits often, and it's free. So come by, enjoy yourself around the tree, and go take a stroll through the artwork that's being displayed in Cornell Museum. You don't have to pay an admission fee to go in there and enjoy it. So I just want to make sure I mention that too. All right, anyone else? Looks like there is no one. Public comment is closed. Moving to the consent agenda as amended. If we can get a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
All right, so moving on to resolution. This will probably clear most of you out afterwards. Resolution number 235-23. This has to do with the long-term lease with EJS. Hugh, are you going to be doing this, or I guess maybe Lynn?
I don't think there's a presentation. I think
Okay.
it's
There's
just
not a
for discussion.
presentation.
All right, so who pulled it?
I did.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
So we want to
Yes.
just make the discussion.
Do I start?
Yeah, no, you
Okay,
can.
yeah, I just
You pulled
wanted to comment on the reason for my vote of no at our last meeting. I have the utmost respect for EJS project Dupree. I've supported it. Many of the graduates and participants were students of mine, And it is admirable for any organization to be a wraparound service for our schools, because schools can't do it by themselves. So I have the utmost respect for EJS and will always support. But my vote of no was not about taking sides. My vote of no was about legacy and about preserving and safeguarding the history of Post 188C. Legacy is about the impact we make on individuals, communities, and generations. It connects the past with the present and influences the future. It offers a sense of pride for our descendants and a beacon for those who come after us. Leaving a legacy is an opportunity to contribute something greater than ourselves, to be remembered not just for what we achieve, but for positive change that we bring to the world. Legacy is about shaping the future long after we're gone. The American Legion Post is a piece of our local history, a symbol of unity forged in challenging times. This building stands as a testament to the camaraderie and dedications of our veterans who were accepted and assigned to active duty in the armed services of the United States of America. Let's not forget the history that brought them to the necessity of constructing this post and the sacrifices that were made by those who built it as a safe haven for our community. We as a community stand on the shoulders of pioneers who made great sacrifices for opportunities in this city. And my hope is that as a community, we can stand together to memorialize this landmark, uphold the memories of those who made it possible, and ensure that all aspects of our history are not forgotten but honored. That is why I voted no on this item. And I just want to thank all of you. Congratulations to all of the participants. But that is my reason for voting no, and I wanted it to be a public knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you. I was going to say, I want to say, I so appreciate both sides, but especially the young folk coming up here and speaking from your heart. I know it's very difficult to do for a lot of people because you're coming in and you're speaking in public, but y'all did a great job, and it's a testament to what you're doing at the EJS project. And certainly, the EJS project definitely deserves a home, whether it's there or somewhere else in our city, because it has made a difference to so many people that have come through those doors. And so congratulations, Dupree. You've done a fantastic job, and it's obvious. I think there were a couple people that came up here and talked about, well, first of all, I wanted to just set the record straight. There was no illegal taking over of a building. Okay, we followed the law. If there was an illegal taking over of any building, we should definitely, that should be taken to court, and we should lose that. So I just want to just make that very clear. It was, we were following what was required of us through an agreement that was had. One of the things that made my decision last week was when Dupree came up and said they had an agreement, and I believe that Prince Arafat, you were speaking the exact words that I was speaking. There was an agreement, and it was an agreement between the EJS project and the American Legion. And so I was kind of wondering why we were even having the discussion of why we weren't moving forward last week, or why we wouldn't move forward. Those are the two parties in this agreement, and the city, of course. But the city wants to, obviously, do the right thing by all parties, if we can. And I think we have. So the true parties came together, agreed to having EJS take over, fix it up, make sure that we did have that legacy building, because short of that happening, like I said, it'll probably be 5 years before the city does anything, and that building will probably be at the point where we'd have to tear it down through demolition by neglect. That happens across the city all the time, and I would hate to see that happen. So you are the best chance that we have in keeping that building where it is and keeping that legacy going on, and making sure that that signal, or the symbol of it being the American Legion and C for Colored from the way back days, that it's a statement in our community, and it's also a reminder of where we all were and where we've come, and what we're doing with the youth right now in the community. And I say, you've got my full support moving forward. So there you go. Anyone else? Yes, the Vice Mayor. I'm Deputy Vice Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. I wrote up a comment for the end, but since we're talking about it now, I'll just do it now. First, I want to, I appreciate all of our public commentary that we get. But I was very moved by the EJS kids that came in tonight. I've had the pleasure of meeting some of these kids before, and I'm always really impressed with you guys. So thanks for coming in tonight and telling us a little bit of your story. But I just want to say, assuming we do move forward with EJS, I'm very excited to begin working with EJS Project to revitalize the 196 Northwest 8th Avenue property. But I do want to make it clear to the community, this decision doesn't mean we're going to rob that building of its identity. It certainly doesn't mean pushing the veterans out. It's important that we make that clear, and I agree with Commissioner Burns about preserving that legacy. Offering a subleasing agreement to the American Legion, that was part of the motion that I made last week. That was the original agreement that the mayor just referred to. Additionally, I think that Sherman-Williams Post 188 should remain the name of the building going forward. That will come out as we move forward, but I think it should. And I'd like to suggest that we seek historic designation of that property. I think recognizing the historic significance and legacy of this American Legion and the building is important. I think there's a lot more we could do as a city to promote that history, and I'd like to have those discussions. And I do hope that as we begin these negotiations, that the legal representation doesn't get in the way, right? As we all agreed that it did, and that we can find practical solutions together. And I think there's genuinely potential here for EJS and the veterans to have an incredible partnership that spans generations. And I'm optimistic we'll find a way to move together amicably.
Very good.
Thank you.
Commissioner.
And I compliment my colleagues who have spoken, and I'm sure Vice Mayor Boylston, you'll be the same because you're always very eloquent. It's the comments about the attorneys interest me. I'm an attorney.
I wonder why.
And here's why. And Ms. Odom, you and I had a conversation last week about this. It's real simple. It's not complicated. An attorney takes on a case. It's either pro bono, they're not charging anything. It's a flat rate, they're charging X. Or it's an hourly agreement where it's an hourly rate of X amount of dollars, and you put in so many hours. It's real simple. The fact that the Legion has counsel who, and I quote, can't ask for a specific amount until the case is resolved. I've never heard of such a thing. I'm a new attorney. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've never heard of that. Do you know of a state law that it requires that? Because that's what he cites.
No.
Okay.
So, and you can always agree to what attorney's fees would be as part of your settlement, or you can go to court. But if you go to the court, you have to submit your invoices. The court's not going to make a decision blind. So at some point, you have to submit invoices to substantiate your claims.
That's why I find this quote interesting to me. So for those proponents of the Legion, which all 5 of us are, I would ask your attorney what's going on, because I don't think those represented are being represented correctly. That's just my opinion. The fact is, Dupree and your students, what the work you've done in the last 6 years is remarkable, as evidenced by the 500 or so kids brought in, by us seeing you up in Tallahassee during Palm Beach County days, by us seeing you throughout the community, by hearing the stories from the men and women today. It's spectacular. And I think the proposal and the compromise to let both amazing groups work together, and with Mr. Dupree saying, well, we have a track record. Well, it's hard to argue against that. So I will be maintaining the stance I've had last week. And I just urge all members on either side, let's work together. That building has been vacant and fenced for way too long.
Yes, it has.
And it's just enough. We need to go forward. We can't, as I stated in the 4 o'clock meeting, kick the can down the road anymore. Let's all work together for space for everyone and get that fenced-in area activated.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
I don't think there's anything I can say that hasn't been said.
There you go.
A decision was made last week that I couldn't join you on. It was made at the end of that meeting after exhausting, I think, every single avenue that we could exhaust. But now we're here, and I'm going to be in favor of having this conversation in regards to negotiating an agreement, which I know will come back before us. But a lot of the elements that have been detailed tonight from each and every one of you are what I'll be looking for in that agreement. I want to ensure that the legacy will be intact and that there's an opportunity for these organizations to work together. And I'd like to see that, obviously, as an aspect of the agreement in writing, and I look forward to reviewing that. So I'll be in favor of taking the next step.
Wonderful. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Burns?
No.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
All right, congratulations, guys. All right, so if you guys don't want to stay for the rest of this long meeting, this would be a great time to adjourn. You can go.
Not yet.
Not me.
We need you.
I said,
So
yeah, you
need
can
to
go.
stay.
You can go. Have a great night. All righty, moving on to 7BB, which was pulled off of the appealables. This is the subculture, I believe, was the first one that was pulled off, and then we'll go to the townhouses. So I believe, who pulled?
I pulled it.
Okay, very good. So I'll let you take over, Vice Mayor.
So I pulled this item because there was a vote in regards to the DDA, there was a vote in regards to the art board, and one doesn't outweigh the other. As a matter of fact, this is public art, so I think it kind of actually leans the other way. But the fact that it hasn't been approved yet, it's on the appealable list today, and the painting has begun. As a matter of fact, I was told by staff that the applicant had been told, right, that, hey, it's not completely approved yet. I went by that site today. They're still painting it, actively painting the mural. So I wanted to pull this, and I don't know if we can just have a discussion on it right now, or
Can we have a discussion now, or does this
Or
have
is
to go
it-
to the next agenda?
Well, I think you can have a limited discussion to decide. Remember, the issue today is whether or not you wish to appeal the decision
That's
of the
right,
Public
so-
Art Advisory Board. We can have a separate conversation about the code issue. I did tell the mayor,
Yeah.
if this is appealed, it will come before you again, de novo. And at that point, we would issue, almost like a cease and desist, a
Yeah,
stop
stop
work
work
order,
order.
that the work needs to stop, and they would be subject to code violations if it continued. If it gets approved tonight, then it's really no harm.
And I
no
also
foul.
do have a question in regards to the definition of a mural and when you're painting an entire building. And I really think if the property owner would have maybe engaged the residents, maybe would have taken some of that feedback from DDA, that maybe there would have been an opportunity to both sides to get what they were looking for. And with a mural, maybe not the entire building. So I would like to see this appealed.
I'm in agreement, and I'm glad you pulled it because I was really surprised and shocked. But I guess I'm not, because we have had so many murals that just seem to all of a sudden appear, and then we have to go backwards and retroactively. And we've said we're not going to do that again, and here we are. This is in the process, and it's almost like, I don't know if there's a miscommunication again, but we should not be having these miscommunications. Just because they got an approval at the art board does not necessarily mean that the city commission is approving it. We're the ultimate deciding factor, and so everything should be held off until that appealable has been run through. Because honestly, when I looked at it, I was like, well, where's the mural? This is the entire building. And I'm not so sure that that area of town should have that. I don't know. I mean, there's a reason that the DDA said no. I'd like to do a little bit more exploration on that, which and also, the art board, yes, I can understand why they would say yes to it, but it ultimately falls to us to make sure that it is appropriate for the different areas, and obviously they've continued to move forward, which is problematic for me. So I'd also like to address the commission in potentially putting some sort of a fine, not this time because obviously we don't have one, but on the books. If this happens again, they get fined for it, because it seems like it's a jumping it's a jumping ahead, unless it was a misunderstanding. But again, I think that we have to be better about communicating to make sure that they know that they're not supposed to, and I feel like they knew, but they've
I
gone
mean,
forward.
if staff told them, then they knew. I came from a place of, this happens a lot. People don't typically understand. However, I can tell you that with our new civil citation ordinance that's going to be coming before you January 4th, we can put something in there that if you start work before you receive a final approval, you could be subject to a civil citation fine. We can put that in there, and it can be a $250 fine. It's going to be, we can't do enhanced fines or something like that. But I think that process will allow us to immediately ticket someone, so at least they're placed on notice, they know they need to stop, and then for subsequent violations, they'll receive additional tickets. It's like parking tickets. So we can do that. I'll draft the stop work letter and have it ready in the morning. And then I'm sure Mr. Orris or Ms. Gianotis will contact the applicant this evening that it is being appealed. I'm assuming there'll be consensus for an appeal, and that the work does need to stop.
I leaped right over you. Did you want to say something? No. Okay. No. And yes.
So I just got to ask, are we appealing it because they jumped the gun with the process, or because we don't like the mural?
So remember, our LDRs, art is speech. So we can limit, time, place, and manner restrictions. So from what I'm hearing from the mayor and Vice Mayor Boylston is that, maybe the manner, the location of the mural is too large, and that's what they might have concerns with. So typically with an appeal, you can appeal for any reason. Obviously not something discriminatory, but really you can appeal for any reason. It becomes a de novo review, meaning they start fresh. It'll be a quasi-judicial proceeding before the commission. And I think we did it this way because, we drafted that ordinance this way because it is art, it is subjective, and we have to be mindful. And what you're going to look at is you're going to look at your LDRs, those time, place, and manner restrictions, and see if that building complies with that. The walls and the facades, that was something that, staff did kind of wrestle with. And so I think, based on your feedback, if that's something we need to tweak in the code because you don't want all 4 walls or you want to limit the number of wall space, the location of it because it's on federal highway, you might be concerned that it might be a distraction to drivers. These are all things that you can consider.
I'll just
not
finish.
whether or not it's pretty.
I get it. I'll just finish my comments by saying, I agree that there's a procedural issue here. They clearly jumped the gun, and we're going to have some repercussions for that in the future. I think that's great. But for me, I don't have an issue with the artwork personally. So I support the recommendation of our Public Art Advisory Board. So I won't be in favor of appealing it, but I do agree with the procedural issue.
Absolutely, yes, the Commissioner.
Thank you. There's just a couple things. One, there was a lot of conversation here as well as that I had outside the chambers, is that the DDA unanimously denied it and said, come back, make some changes. Is it within their purview or the Public Art Board's purview?
No, the DDA, and what we have to be mindful of, and I'm glad you brought that up, every board has different purviews, right? So what the DDA is looking at was very different than what the Public Art Board was looking at. And so that's why you can have these 2 completely different votes, because they're looking at like the economic vitality of projects and what it does to downtown development and whether or not it promotes it. The Art Board is looking at our LDRs and determining is this art subject to time, place, manner restrictions? Is it appropriate for the city? So I think that's why you got 2 very different votes, and why one board was very strongly against it, because maybe they didn't feel that it promoted the economic vitality versus was this art appropriately placed on the building. So I don't think that the DDA should be delaying applicants in that manner, because remember, their purview is not to redesign it. I mean, frankly, nobody's purview is, but their purview is very limited, and that should not be something that's subject to, making people come back and essentially delaying
But
a process.
did they delay? I mean, nobody has to wait on the DDA to approve or deny, correct?
I think they wanted to postpone it.
They said come back, I thought.
They requested that they come back, but ultimately the DDA's board is an advisory board
Yeah,
to
I
the
was
board
gonna
that
say,
takes final action in this case, which is the Public Art Advisory Board, who is charged with overseeing the public arts program of the city. The DDA is charged with making a determination whether what's before them, to again paraphrase what Ms. Jellin was saying, is going to promote the vitality and implement any adopted redevelopment plans. This one is located within the North Federal Highway redevelopment plan, doesn't speak expressly to murals. But they can't be from the DDA, I don't like it. It
Yeah.
needs
Right.
to be, it's not consistent with that.
Right.
They are advisory, so they didn't like it, they wanted to see changes, but there was no obligation for the applicant to loop back to them.
And I was going to say, it's either an up or down for the DDA, I would imagine. It's not like, well, we're going to do this and you come back to us. That doesn't make any sense to have to revisit a board that's an advisory board. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No problem. And then my next question would be for the discussion at the Public Art Advisory Board. Obviously, there was some debate. They talked about it. They liked it. Evidently, art's so subjective. But was the applicant told that they had to wait until it came before us today, or?
So every approval letter that we draft for actions that the other boards take, whether it's a building or a mural, advise them that there is an appealable period to go through. Now, it is unique. I've not worked in other places where there's this reach down and reconsider thing that happens. And so it is something that maybe is misunderstood or purposely misunderstood in some cases.
Sure.
It's hard to tell, but yeah. So
Can you make that clearer and just say nothing can be done until after the appeals have been exhausted, so that you don't
And once
go
the ordinance is
we
adopted,
can try
we
to
can
just
put the
start putting it on
reference to the
bold
code.
in the letter. We try to verbally advise the project managers that shepherd the projects through. Try to make this advice. Obviously, it's a bigger deal if it's a building that somebody jumps the gun on. We have a little more control over that with building permits. This is not the case, though. Like, we saw so many murals that never were even in the queue.
Right.
I mean, this one at least got a unanimous vote from Public Art Advisory Board, and even though we told them, wait, they must have felt confident.
I just want to make sure the notice was there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, it was there.
That was what I was worried about, whether or not we were
I trust you.
communicating properly or not, and it sounds like we were. And I have to tell you, I have a real issue with what is a mural. I mean, because I'm thinking about these big, we have some big buildings, and all of a sudden we could have it, everywhere around a building, and, that may or may not really fit into what we want to see in the place that they're asking us to do that. This is a smaller building, maybe a little less,
This is considered 3 murals, though. It's 1 mural, but it required a separate vote on each facade. Maybe
4.
it's 4 votes. Yes,
Okay,
it's 4.
well,
Yes.
I saw that too, because there were four
Right,
four separate
So
sections.
each facade had to be voted on.
Right.
So certainly you can,
But I guess-
decide that these 2 facades are appropriate and this one
Correct.
is not.
So-
I mean, when we adopted these rules, it was people were painting over windows and they weren't asking any kind of process. So.
So that's the thing that I want to talk about when we do bring this back, is what is appropriate and how many murals do we want to, I mean, it's, maybe some buildings would, because I'm thinking of the one on West Atlantic, the red and white one. I mean, that went all the way, I think, around, or at least lipped around. It was the entire front. Yeah, the entire building. So anyway, but I would like to discuss that further. All right.
Just to be clear, I don't want to get into a conversation about the art itself.
Yep.
I did see there were some comments on the DDA made in regards to the art itself. But I think they did have a point in that it's not an arts district. I think it's unique to that area.
Yeah.
And so I think they made some really good points there. Enough for us to have a conversation about it.
And listen, as long as it's appropriate art, because everybody has a difference of opinion. We had if you remember, the dog sprinkling the hydrant. That was very offensive that was before, I think, some of your time up here, but it was very offensive to a lot of the commissioners. However, I think the art board thought that it was just fine. So again, those are the kinds of things that ultimately we're the ones who are going to be responsible for it. So it really does need to land in our laps. Eventually, and if we need to pull it, because it might be considered inappropriate, whereas the art board may not see it that way.
So this would be just a motion to appeal the subculture 302 Northeast 6th Avenue approval, item 7BB.
So moved.
And anybody going to second it?
Second.
All right, call the roll, please.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
I'm going to say no.
Mr. Long?
No.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to 7CC, this is the townhouses, the Delray townhomes, and again, I think, Mr. Boston, you pulled it, yes?
I did. I just wanted to give Anthea and Lynn, or I think mainly Anthea, just an opportunity to to review what these items are. I know we got a lot of emails in regards to these items, and I just want to make
Right.
to kind of clear the air.
Right, so the item that's on the appealable is actually the level 3 site plan application with the landscape plan and the architectural elevations for the development that'll happen on the site. And I think, in the neighboring property where there's a lot of debate with the annexation, where we were assigning the zoning, which zoning was the right zoning, and ultimately, the board made a decision. In this case, this zoning is in place. It is RM8, meaning that while the RM district generally allows a density from 8 to 12 units, in this case, the development is limited to 8 DUs per acre. There is not an incentive or an overlay that would give more density. It's held to the 8 by its zoning suffix that was adopted. And so what's before you is a site plan that has 25 units because it's approximately a 3-acre site, so it's got the right to build 25 units, and it's the site plan and the layout of that. That was approved. So I think there was some confusion about whether the zoning was, it should be single family or it should be something else, but the zoning was established years ago.
The ship has sailed.
The ship has sailed, yes, absolutely. There was, if it makes anybody feel any better, in 2020, there was an application that came in to remove the suffix that ultimately was withdrawn because there was no support from the lower boards for it. So it kept it at 8 units per acre, but that is their right.
Were there any concerns regarding massing or green space or?
So the SPRAB, I believe, was still the board that acted on this. I'm sorry, I'm going to double check it. My cover letter, just because we moved some boards around recently and I don't always trust my memory. So it was it was approved this time by the SPRAB. Yes, Site Plan Review and Appearance Board. It had a 5-0 approval. There was a lot of discussion about the traffic, about the impact of the traffic. The applicant, answered a lot of questions about the analysis that was provided. The TPS letter, of course, from the county that is required for all development to move forward, that it meets concurrency. And given, some of the concerns we've had with fire with some of the smaller streets and the constraint at the intersection, I know the fire department, went out and double checked everything. They have given the 50 feet of right of way in front of this section. So the road is coming along. It's the pinch point at the intersection, and everything was navigable and, met the criteria. So, but traffic was the only issue. There wasn't, I don't think a ton, there were some amenities in the plan as well. And,
but why was traffic brought up if density and
well, they had they redid the traffic study because they said that it was a study that might not be applicable today as it was back when they were doing it. So they actually went through and did another. That's why it was delayed or something, and they did another study, and it did pass.
And it has the same results, and most of the reason why it has the same results, I don't think people realize this, but the county's models put into their expectation the ultimate build out of our land use plans, not necessarily what's there now. So the plan is that everything does intensify over time.
Are there certain standards that the project had to hit to go above 6 units per acre?
So there are performance standards that come into play that that the SPRAB determined that the project met, but it's RM is, I'm sorry, I'm RMA is, hang on, let me find it.
Specifically, like the criteria for that.
Right. It's about, there's a lot of standards for site plan action, to be fair. Everything related to height, the performance standards that relate to, is it walkable? Is it a building design that is compatible within itself? There's just a number of standards that are all in the backup that's attached with the appealable. Trying to make sure that the project is contributing eventually to the sidewalk and the bike ped, and so that's part of why, don't argue with us about giving the right of way for the road that needs to be completed over time. that there's building setbacks, landscape materials, other things that absorb. There's standards for the fact that it's even just a townhouse community that are taken into consideration as well.
And staff is confident that they met all those performance standards?
Yes, that it says, yes, that these are on there, and it goes through each one of the different steps and states at the end that the development proposal generally meets the performance standards applicable for a project of this scope and intensity to the degree that an increase of 8 DUs per acre is appropriate. So, and that's the full analysis that went behind it as well.
Just any thoughts on this? I just know that.
Well, I mean, to me, I would agree to appeal if there was any reason to appeal, but we can't because this has already been set many years ago. I mean, back in 2006.
2006
is when we
2006.
took it over, and then 2017 was when this was put through. So we can't go backwards on this.
And just for the record, if you recall, Mayor, and I think Vice Mayor Boylston was also on the dais, this was sold by the city.
Correct.
It has special, as additional terms to the sale, we approved the 8 units.
I wasn't on the
2017? No?
No.
Oh, sorry. You're right. It was the next year.
Yes.
So anyway, this is that, like the mayor said, that ship has sailed. The time to object to that was back when that sale. There was a public hearing for the sale. That's when it should have been objected to. It's just been sitting.
I'm not objecting to anything that happened then. I'm just saying
I just
in regards
think
to
that's the public's
meeting the
concern.
performance standards.
Yeah, but I think
that the public thinks that we can bring this
Oh, I
back
know.
and make a
Right.
difference.
I
That's what
understand.
I was really receiving, and I have to tell you, the majority of the emails that I was receiving was from the Barwick Estates community, not the Sable Lakes community, which they seem to be a little bit more in tune with what's going over there. But Barwick Estates community, I think, is going to be more impacted because it backs up to this project. So that's probably the reason why. But I think that by just appealing it and not being able to really make any difference at all, I don't know that that really makes sense.
No, I mean, developers have development-backed expectations.
Correct.
When the property was purchased, this is what the city offered. And at the end of the day, unless you have an issue with the landscape plan, the site plan, or the architectural elevations, you're going to be limited to that in your appeal.
That's
You
it.
know, we can't open up the
Yeah.
whole can of worms. So that's the box that you're going to be confined
Like I
to.
said, I wanted to make sure that we're clearing the air and just making sure
Yeah.
that we're covering all of that. So,
It exceeds the minimum open space requirement. I think it would be very difficult to.
did you say that again?
It exceeds the minimum open space requirement that's there, so it's not so jam packed that like it's every last square foot is covered in building. There's
Right. Okay.
been some.
All right. Do you
So
need
this one would be, if you're not interested in appealing it, just motion to approve.
a motion to approve?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes. All right, moving on to 7A, Resolution 239-23. This is a quasi-judicial hearing, so let me put into the record quasi-judicial rules. This hearing shall be conducted in accordance with quasi-judicial rules. The applicant and the city shall be allowed 15 minutes each to present their case. The public shall be allowed to speak for 3 minutes each, or a maximum of 6 minutes if the person represents an organization or a group of people who are present but agree not to speak. The city's commission, staff, and the applicant will be allowed to cross-examine a witness. The city or the applicant will be allowed to offer rebuttal testimony. The decision to approve or deny an application or appeal may not be legally made upon personal views as to whether a project is a good project or not, nor may a decision be based on the numbers of citizens who support or oppose a particular project. The law requires that all decisions must be made on the basis of whether the project meets the requirements of law, the comprehensive plan, and the land development regulations. If there's anybody here that's going to be speaking to this resolution 239-23, please stand and be sworn in.
Raise your right hand, please.
This is a Delray Swan, for the record.
Just the Dilray Swan, huh?
Usually you see and swear everybody.
7C, 7D. No, that's the only quasi-judicial item today.
Yeah, that's the only one.
Raise your right hand, please. By the authority vested in me as a notary of the state of Florida, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, so let's move to disclosure of ex parte communication. starting with the Deputy Vice Mayor.
I spoke with Mr. Schiller.
Mr. Schiller.
All right, Commissioner?
Not recently.
Yeah, and
I spoke with
Vice
Mr. Schiller.
Mayor? And nothing from me except for what's on the server. All right, so let's have the city go ahead and enter the file into the record so the applicant can do their presentation.
Good evening, Anthea Geniotis for the record. I'd like to enter file 2022-063 into the record. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Schiller.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. Good evening. Happy Hanukkah. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. My name's Neil Schiller, Government Law Group, 137 Northwest 1st Avenue, right across the street. I'm here tonight representing the Delray Swan Project. With me tonight is Jeff Costello, our planner, as well as our client, Mr. Cliff Rosen. We are here tonight to ask for your approval on the site plan, landscape plan, architectural standards, and incentive program. The Planning and Zoning Board did vote unanimously to approve this project 6-0 at their last meeting. It's actually the first meeting of the newly reconstituted Planning and Zoning Board. And all criteria have been met for approval. And I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Costello, who's going to talk about some of the planning and zoning aspects, and I'll bring it home at the end.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Happy holidays,
evening.
everybody. You're pretty familiar, I believe, with this property, and it's bounded by Southeast 2nd Street to the north, Southeast 2nd Avenue, and the FEC to the east, and then you got 3rd Street and Southeast 1st Avenue. Really, it's a pleasure to be able to before you in presenting this redevelopment initiative in the Osceola Park neighborhood. This area is transforming, and this is just a slide that shows just a couple years ago how this street looked along Southeast 2nd Avenue prior to the investment that our client made with regard to the on-street parking and improving the pedestrian, providing pedestrians a sidewalk as well as parking and lighting within on that street, which was very, very dangerous and felt unsafe. We're going to start with regard to the renderings. This is a view from the Southeast 2nd Avenue, 2nd Street intersection. We do see the public plaza in this location here. The colors, that the gray and one of the other colors, the brown, will be eliminated, but then we'll get to that through the elevations. But this is just that view showing the arcade and the public plaza. This is the other view from the Southeast 1st Avenue, 3rd Street intersection. There's another civic open space at the southwest corner of the site, adjacent to the residential community. And then also this is a rendering from the east view. Notice that we have the access to the parking garage, as well as the loading and refuse areas on this side. To be sensitive, of course, to the lower density residential to the west side of Southeast 1st Avenue. We are very sensitive to, as we were going through the rezoning process, where the properties on 1st Avenue were rezoned to be, to a lower density. And with that, with this elevation, you see here with there's some voids within this building facade. There's the civic open space, a lot of variation and step backs in the elevation. The development program, of course, this is 2.36 acres in the railroad, in the Osceola Park neighborhood. It's zone CBD, railroad corridor. The floor area ratio has not been exceeded. It meets the height requirements, 5 stories, 54 feet. This is an Anglo-Caribbean architectural style, something refreshing. That's something different that you may all have seen in the past. Just about 3,000 square feet of commercial. The residential use, we have 165, and 20% of those will be workforce housing. 33 units. The units will all have diverse unit mix. We have a mix of studio, 1, 2, 3 bedrooms. The workforce can only be designated for the 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. And Legend will get more detail to that as he goes through the incentive program. Open space, we exceed the civic open space requirement, and then parking exceed the parking requirement. We have 296 spaces within the garage. In addition to that, there's 30 public spaces, public on-street spaces that will be provided. Just going through a little walk you through around the block. So we are dedicating with this project 5 feet of right-of-way along First Avenue, 10 feet of right-of-way along Second Avenue. There is the civic open space at the southwest. At the north side, the other civic open space, your commercial space. The development itself provides various amenities. There's the recreation facilities. We have fitness, pet spa, and bike room. And then the elevations themselves, it made it more of a townhouse feel towards First Avenue, where there's the buildings do step back, there's stoops, porches, so forth, everything, and the streetscape consistent with the CBD regulations. Notice the pedestrian connections, as you recall the waiver at the northwest and southeast corner of the blocks. So the entire block will have pedestrian access. Required findings can be made with regard to the land use map. The commercial core is the preferred zoning for the CBD. As you recall, the properties on First Avenue were rezoned in 2021 to CBD. Required findings can also be made with regard to concurrency. There will be no negative impacts on the surrounding roadway network, and the residential component, basically it's within the coastal residential exception area. Water and sewer, we're upgrading the utilities within the block as part of this redevelopment effort, new sewer main along Second Avenue, and then all the other findings can be made with regard to concurrency. Consistency with the comprehensive plan. There's an extensive amount of policies, goals, objectives, and policies that this project complies with, and I won't go into detail with all of those, but it is in your backup. A nice mixed-use project within the Osceola Park neighborhood that also provides a small commercial space for local businesses. With regard to compatibility, the project will be, as I presented previously, will be compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. The project meets or exceeds code requirements for compatibility in the LDRs. 3 waivers you all took action on previously. And the staff report highlights that the compliance with 35 different LDR requirements. And as noted, the pedestrian connection is a condition of that waiver just about a month ago. We have accommodated that with this site plan. And with that, I will turn it over.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much. So there are a couple of issues highlighted at the Planning and Zoning Board meeting, and we want to bring to your attention tonight. The first is the loading zone. Planning and Zoning Board agreed with our ask for 1 loading zone. This is the loading zone on Second Avenue. You can see the study that we had prepared shows the ability of a 26-foot truck to get in and make the turn into the loading zone. There are additionally 3 on-street spaces provided on Southeast 2nd Avenue. Trash occurs weekly, 6 days in the AM. And what's important about the loading zone is the coordination that management will have over who uses the loading zone and when it's to be used to significantly decrease conflicts, particularly with trash pickup. And again, your code allows the Commission and Planning and Zoning Board to determine if 1 loading space is adequate. Why do we feel that a 26-foot truck is representative here? In addition to the fact that staff asked us to do a 26-foot truck, I looked at the U-Haul website, and actually the U-Haul website prescribes that a 26-foot truck is actually adequate for a 3-bedroom home to a 4-bedroom home, and it gets lower as you decrease in the amount of square footage. And as you can remember from Jeff's presentation, we're doing 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom units. We're not doing homes. So we think that a 26-foot truck can obviously meet all of the needs of our residents. The green area is the loading zone that we referred to on 2nd Avenue. Again, on the site plan, it says intended to be used for short-term freight and mail delivery. Those 3 spaces, I think, are going to be integral into us ensuring adequate service to the building. And as far as the commercial waste route is concerned, previously our commercial area did not have an internal corridor that directly reached the trash room, but now after the Planning and Zoning Board meeting, we have created a door where that person is with the trash cart to go in through that resident corridor area directly to the trash room. So all the waste will be internal to the project, which is, I think, a very big positive. And then waste management, we have a letter from them back this summer that says that not only will the project have 2 4-yard containers that will be rotated by management, but that will be picked up 6 days a week. And what's really important is that based on their experience with comparable buildings, that this schedule has proven to be successful. So we're setting ourselves up from success on day one. The landscape plan is up for your approval. This is a version where we colored in all of the landscaping that's proposed on the site. We have 170 total trees on the landscape plan, 86 native trees. We're far exceeding the requirements of your code. Native vegetation is 62% more than required. Shrubbery is 89% more than required. And something that I'm proud of, civic open space is almost 30% more than what's required in your code. And the green area on the bottom of the slide is just an excerpt from your staff report that talks in beautifully flowery language about how wonderful our landscape plan is. Architectural elevations, as you can see, the criteria for board action and good taste and good design, overall quality and appearance is not anticipated to materially depreciate the adjacent properties. Your staff found that our project meets or exceeds 7 additional architectural standards found in the LDR requirements. Here you can see all the different elevations, and I think Jeff said it very well, jokingly, this is not masonry modern. This is not the architectural style that you've been used to seeing in the last few years. Anglo-Caribbean really does fit in really well with this area of the city, and we think this is going to be a tremendous benefit to the Osceola Park neighborhood. The last ask for tonight is our incentive program, which allows us to build up to 70 dwelling units per acre. Again, there are 165 total units. 20% of those will yield 33 units, 15 one-bedroom, 15 two-bedroom, and 3 three-bedroom units, something that will meet all the different needs of the growing Osceola Park neighborhood. Again, the resident neighborhood stabilization slide that you've seen several times before, this is right from your Always Delray comprehensive plan, showing that this site needs revitalization. And we again feel that this project will bring that needed revitalization to the neighborhood and to the site. Neighborhood support, there hasn't been any opposition to the project. The applicant has reached out to all of these different property owners in the neighborhood. A thumbs up indicates support for the project. Osceola Park has previously been in support of the project, and more than 160 petitions and letters have been signed and submitted as part of the file for this project. In conclusion, some project benefits that I may not have highlighted. In addition to the 33 workforce housing units, 2 new civic plazas, 30 on-street parking spaces, the redevelopment of an area that doesn't have any sidewalks now, that will now have a new sidewalk around the whole block with tremendous improvement to pedestrian amenities like public art, shade trees, benches, and other things that are really going to make this block way more walkable than it's ever been before. In addition to providing a nice buffer to the residential neighborhood to the west from the railroad. And so with that, and last but not least, new sidewalks and new street lighting. So I think those are also very positive and improve the public safety. Again, we ask that you approve tonight the site plan with 1 loading berth, with our trash route being internal to the building, and the landscape plan, architectural standards, and incentive program. And with that, we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. To staff?
Okay, so I think Mr. Schiller's just spent a lot of time on the parts of this project that garnered the most discussion at Planning and Zoning Board. So that's why we usually don't have quite that much discussion on loading, but that was one of the issues that was discussed pretty heavily at the board. So, so he has helped get that started. All right, hang on. So what's before you now is what is now called a level 4 site plan. This is a site plan that requires commission action as the final action because there's a request for a density increase. So in this capacity, Planning and Zoning Board was the recommendatory body to this board, which will take final action, and then it will not have to appear on an appealable. So we will cut that out.
There you go.
At any rate, so the property is 2.3 acres. It is comprising almost all of the block. This board has seen this before due to the waivers that were considered recently prior to finalizing the site plan design. So it is a 5-story mixed-use building. It's approximately 300,000 square feet. And that comprises 165 units with almost 3,000 square feet of commercial use facing one of the plazas, one of the civic open spaces. And I think it's important to note that the 2 plazas on site, this over 7,000 square feet of open space, actually exceeds the minimum requirement. And so with the site plan, elevation, landscape plan that you're looking at, you are also approving the increase in density to 70 units per acre, which is an incentive that is offered within the downtown in exchange for providing workforce housing. In this case, the sub district requires both a mix of low and moderate income, so it's not just the moderate that we usually see. So again, here's the site. It is a bit of a transition parcel. It's got the railroad on one side and it moves into a lower scale residential neighborhood, you know, as you go to the west. So I think you've gotten a good overview of what the building looks like from the applicant. And again, the 2 open spaces, there's the green that's on the side at the lower density residential, kind of on that side with the lower part of the building, and then the other plaza here, which is in front of the proposed commercial space on the corner. So let's see if I can go back. There are 2 pieces that are not included. This was a lot of the discussion that happened at the waiver discussion in order to complete, you know, when these folks, the 165 units and the residents who live there, that there would be a continuous residential path around the entire block. That's a technical note attached to the staff report and the site plan approval that has to be, it's sort of not up for debate. It's something that has to be done. What you'll see with our staff reports, especially for those of you who are new, although Mr. Long served on planning board at one point, so but the last page of all of our staff reports, as more of these come to you, have the technical notes, and these are things that have to be done at certain other requirements of the code that have to be done in certain parts of the approval, whether it's before we certify the site plan, before you submit for a building permit, you have to plat, or before you actually get your building permit. Those are really not up for debate. They're not up to be relieved. They're just sort of a list of everything that it takes to bring a building like this to fruition and at what point that has to happen for it to move forward. So it's really clear for staff and it's really clear for the applicant what's expected of them. There was a lot of discussion again about the loading and whether the loading space was sufficient for a building that size. And ultimately, the recommendation was that it was from the planning board, and you've heard a little bit more from the applicant on the needs today. Like any large-scale project, you have to find that that it's consistent with section 3.1.1, that the land use and the zoning match, which they do, that there's concurrency in place related to, that we wait for the school district to tell us if there's a fee. In this case, there's not. There is a $500 per unit park impact fee that will be due at the time of permit. This is located within the transportation concurrency exception area, so there is not an issue with that. and then ultimately that the infill project in the pattern is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. It does fall within the Osceola Park Neighborhood Revitalization Plan, and it generally supports the goals there. The staff report that's attached gives a full background of how it meets the provisions of the code, including the parking that is provided exceeds the required number, and then in addition there's on-street parking that will be installed as part of this. And again, the civic open space exceeds the amount that's required. This is not a masonry modern building, so that's part of why the boards, I think, have found it refreshing. It is a large building, and so there are a couple of recommendations, slight adjustments to the color that the applicant and the planning board both agreed that I'll go over really quickly. So again, the civic open space required was just under 6,000 square feet, and over 7,320 square feet is provided in two fairly generously sized parcels in the corner. Despite the many, many trees that are being planted in the streetscape that is being formed, this is a large building taking up a large site. So the project will be required to submit a payment of over $61,000 into the tree trust fund to make up for the shift that's happening on site. And that would occur at the time of building permit. So again, the reason that there would be an increase in density is that the downtown offers that in exchange for workforce. So it's 20% of the total, so it's 165 units are proposed. Of those, 33 units would be income restricted, and it would be divided between both the low and the moderate levels. So when the planning board reviewed this and recommended approval, I think as the applicant presented it, the loading was heavily debated whether it was sufficient for a residential unit building of this size. And the other issue was that without the door that Mr. Schiller presented to you, the trash from the commercial loading would have had to been taken down the sidewalk into the loading area, and simply by putting a door, it could be circulated internally. So ultimately that issue was resolved. The conditions that were attached and were agreed to were there was a gray color that was on the renderings, and nobody liked it, so they've agreed that the gray would not be there, which is why I was saying there was a couple of adjustments to the color when we were going over the color slide. And the internal door would prevent, is agreed to as well. And then there was like a dark bronze color on the stucco portion of the balcony sidewall that I think was left over from an earlier submission that they had agreed to change, and the board was both the board and the applicant agreed to adjusting that. It's a color detail, but everyone agreed to it. So this is what's come before you for action, for final action at this point, and we're here if you have any questions.
All right, great. This is a quasi-judicial hearing, so if there's anybody here that would like to speak to Resolution 239-23, the Swan, please step forward, state your name and address. Seeing no one, public comment is closed. We'll go back to the applicant for any rebuttal testimony or cross.
Just a brief rebuttal, Mayor. Three things I want to point out. First, we've been in this project for almost 2 years and have worked very closely with your staff. And I want to tell you, your staff has put us through the ringer on this project, a multitude of times.
Wow.
And really, it's a tremendous compliment to them, to our team for working so well with them and bringing this project forward tonight. And lastly, we will be back before you because we need a final plat. So this is not the last you'll hear from us, but
Very good.
Hopefully we'll be much further along. So thank you so much, and
Thank you.
thanks for your vote tonight.
All right, any rebuttal or cross from staff?
It's a big building, and we have to live with it for 100 years. So yes, we're very thorough. But it's great. And actually, at the lower boards, if any of you watched it, we were showing how the project has evolved over. It started off good, and it got even better through the process. So we were very happy with the result.
Very good. All right, so to the commission, any comments? Yeah, sure.
Anthea, in regards to the comment of putting Mr. Schiller through the ringer, I give you thumbs up.
As long as it's a green thumbs up. All right, anyone else? Entertain a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Gonna remain consistent, no.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
All right, moving on
Thank
to
you.
7B. Guys, have a great holiday.
Thank you, you too.
Consideration of a parking agreement with the Sunday Village.
So I believe Mr. Cavelli is here. We brought this to you. Obviously, this is a very large project. And they're going to be proposing a parking garage that's going to require waivers. And so what the ultimate outcome for today is if this is something that the commission is interested in, and then you'll direct me to prepare a parking agreement with the property owner, similar to kind of like a hybrid between IPIC and the parking easement that Mr. Rosen also came before the commission with. So they're going to give you a very short presentation, and then you can have some discussion. You don't really need to vote on this. We're just looking for some consensus and direction.
Okay, very good, Mr. Cavelli.
Good evening, Mike Cavelli, Cavelli Design, 1209 South Swinton Avenue. What we have is a discussion about a public-private parking agreement on Block 69. This is the Sunday Village project. This is a certified plan that currently is approved. And as you all know, it comprises 4 blocks, and it's between basically Swinton and First Street. And we're talking about on Block 69. That basically is at the intersection of Southwest First Avenue and Southwest First Street. This plan has also gone through a lot of different iterations to get it to this point. What the ground floor of this is, on Southwest First Avenue, you have an arcade, and then behind the arcade in the tan color is office retail space. There would be a liner to the parking. And then likewise on Southwest First Street, you have the same tan color there with office retail space. And then the blue is parking that would access from the alley. Let me see it, like right there. Would access the alley, and that goes down to a lower level so that the ramping on the other entrance can work. That is not a part of the agreement. That would be private parking that would be controlled. That would be for the office space and some maintenance employees and things like that. The second level would be entrance off of First Avenue, and then it would immediately ramp up off of that entrance, and it would go, this is a continuous ramp parking garage, so as you drive in, you go around and around and you go up. There's 32 spaces on this space. Sunday Village has provided parking for all of their uses. We haven't done any in lieu parking. We really feel like to provide the actual physical spaces is really what you need to be successful, to have people come and be able to park. And the goal is to get people out of their cars as fast as possible and on foot. So by providing the parking that we're providing, you don't have people driving around the block like you see on Friday and Saturday nights. The interesting thing about this is that there's a lot of office space in the Sunday project. Our peak hour is the middle of the day, because that's when all the office space is full, the retail shops are open, and those kind of things. So at night, these spaces pretty much will be vacant. So the thought was that these spaces in the public part of the garage could be available Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., and Saturday and Sunday, 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. So on level 3 and 4, there's another 92 spaces, and on level 4, there are 14 spaces. So it'd be 138 spaces that would be available to the public at these specific hours. These are the elevations. It is not modern architecture either. These elevations don't do justice to the building, so we did some renderings. On On the right side, you have First Avenue. You can see the arcade. The arcade we thought was a really great element to bring the mass of the parking garage down. It helps to bring that portion of the building into a more pedestrian-friendly level. The arcade also provides shelter from sun and rain for pedestrians that are walking through there. This arcade is not an alleyway. It's about 17 feet wide, so it is a very open, airy area that you would be walking through. The tower element is one of the elements in the Land Development Code that is specified in terms of when you have an intersection building that provides a gathering space in the front of the building. And then on the left side, on the First Street side, we originally had this designed as an arcade, and again, to break up the mass of the building, because a parking garage is basically a box. But because of utility conflicts, we had to push the face of this building back quite a ways. So what we did was we kept the arcade and have closed it in with glass so that it is actually office space as a liner space for that part of the building. And this is another view of that space. Here you're looking east on First Street, and you can see that office retail space on the street front. We expanded the parking in the front for the parallel parking. The sidewalk's nice and wide, and you can see the entrance off to the left that goes into the private parking space off of the alley. The entrance off of First Avenue is the main entrance. This is where the ramp goes up to the second floor. So when you walk by, you don't see parked cars or anything. It's just a very clean look. And then look, this is looking south on First Avenue, and that's the arcade entry to the south. This is what the inside of the arcade would look like as you walk through. The area provides you with shade, provides protection from rain. You see the office space that is off to the right that you can see through the windows there. That will provide some eyes on the street security, where you have more visual security, but by virtue of the number of people that have activities in the area. And the arcade also provides safety for pedestrians from the cars driving past. That's basically what the garage is all about, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really have a presentation for you. I think you're being posed with a question in terms of entering into an agreement, but I do want to say that it's a small site, and it is in the Old School Square Historic District. This part of a very large project, excuse me, is within. And so a parking garage is typically required to be lined on all floors if with active uses in a historic district. The exception made to that are garages that have that are public, that have that public access. Mm-hmm. So while it's a lovely presentation and all of that, the actual decision here moves us on to HPB with that design, or it actually would have to shift and change. Lining that small site makes it difficult for the garage to circulate. It decreases the yield. Unlike, I think it was PR2 that came in to ask to put the garage over the arcade on the street. This is not what's being proposed here. That is still trying to keep that smaller scale. But the final version of whatever the design is will be, evaluated by HPB. It will appear as an appealable here for your consideration. It's just this, we need to just determine whether or not sharing these parking spaces with this Class A office in the evening and weekend hours when they're off peak is something that you're interested in, because it also affects the design of the project moving forward.
So question for you, or whomever. Is there a cost to the city? Because I know that we had an agreement with IPIC.
No, there's no cost to the city.
Okay, and then the second question is that obviously these are going to be metered parking spaces, I would presume, yeah?
As part of the agreement, we'll figure out, how it gets paid, but yes.
We're still negotiating that, and if the commission has any thoughts on that.
I do. I have thoughts.
Tonight would be a good night, or, in the alternative, it is coming back to you as an appealable. That agreement isn't going to slow them down.
Right.
And so you can always just direct me to bring the agreement back to you, and we can, whatever night it's on as an appealable, I would put it on the parking agreement as on a regular agenda, and so that you can decide if that's what you want it to look like.
I think they should be commensurate with what we charge versus what these other lots charge.
Yep,
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
My feeling is that we do not want to get into a situation where we're losing ground and they become predatory as some of these other parking lots have become. So if we're going to be doing any share, does that make sense?
Mr. Benson's
Yeah,
standing
it
up,
makes
so I
sense.
think.
Todd Benson is here.
Hi.
Hi,
Good to see you.
Hi, good to see you too. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, the parking rates are going to be, because it is a private garage, so it's not going to be the same as the city rates, but it's going to be comparable to those rates, and it'll be less than what Sunday Village is on the below grade parking. We know that the rates are $4 an hour on Atlantic, and then off-street parking is $2. So it's going to be based on market rate, and will not be, we're aware of the predatory parking and the company that does that, and we're not going with that management company, and that's not the intent. It's just to.
So how do you promise, or how do you guarantee that down the road that we're not going to have that, that situation occur if we're actually partnering, with in a sense, with you, like?
Which part of that?
Just that you won't go to. Is there going to be an agreement that basically establishes that the city has a say, or is this going to be all on you at a later date, and we kind of lost the opportunity here and now? So my question is that how do we make it so that we don't have that issue in the future? Somebody saying something to me today won't necessarily mean that that's what's going to happen,
Sure.
down the road.
Well, I think we could pick it up in the agreement, and
What I had recommended, and it's what we've done with Mr. Rosen's lot, is that there's, the city enforces, so it's our parking system, and then, we would have to decide if the city's going to, benefit from any of the parking. But with Mr. Rosen, it's essentially a 50-50 split. So because we do have to pay for enforcement and things like that, but it's utilizing our technology, and so that's how we can control it for that lot. So again, this is very, I only forwarded them back the agreement maybe 2 weeks ago. We had a meeting with Ms. Miskell, and it's still very early stages, but I'm glad we're having this conversation because that was one of the talking points when we met. But again, I do want to stress that unlike other garages, they are incurring all the fees, including maintenance and things like that. So there is zero cost to the city. Mr. Rosen's lot, once they were reimbursed whatever cost they put into it, that's when the cost sharing goes into effect, essentially.
Yeah, to further that point, as far as the enforcement, I think that's something in the agreement that we could pick up because it's not our intent, but obviously we're just speaking about that right now, and we can figure out some way to enforce that that we're not.
I think the standardization of technology is important.
Yeah, and I mean we're going to be using technology throughout all the parking on the site.
All right, very good. Any other questions?
There is, well, really quick, just one other issue.
Sure.
And obviously staff's concern is that it does remain a public garage, right? So there was some language in there that, and it's understandable, Sunday Village is going to have events and they're going to need the spaces, but the concern from staff was that if they have events every weekend and every evening, then the spaces don't become public anymore because it becomes closed off and it becomes a private garage for those events. So what I had recommended was, there would be a certain number of events that would just be grandfathered into the agreement, and then anything in excess would require the approval of the city manager, just to alleviate the concern that because of the abundance of events that, then the spaces don't become available.
Why wouldn't events in the Sunday District, why wouldn't the parking just be like a special event anywhere else where people just park where they are going to park?
So part of the language that they had recommended was if they're having a wedding there, then it would be a completely private garage. So if it's a Saturday night where the city's anticipating having people, use that garage, that night it would be closed. So the concern was, well, if there's
event every night,
every night, then you're losing that public aspect of the garage. because it's only public from 6 p.m. to, I think it's 1, or,
Yeah, 6
you know,
p.m. to 6
a.m. So again, if it's not a concern of the commission, but again,
It is,
you know,
no, it definitely is a concern.
yeah, so that's one of the things that, and I can reach out to everyone individually and kind of gauge where you're at. You don't have to make a decision on that
I was
tonight.
going to say, what are we making the decision on then?
Tonight, you're just going to decide, and I think the agreement should come back to you
Mhm.
because I think there is a lot of discussion that
Yep.
needs to be had. So at the time when they're ready to come in as an appealable, I'll put this on the regular agenda, and then I'll reach out and have individual meetings with each of you just to discuss what terms you'd like to see in this agreement and try to get a consensus.
So we're just going to give you the consideration to start to move toward.
So if you're comfortable with allowing them to essentially enter into a public-private partnership for this garage
Yeah.
with the city, I just need your consensus
I just
today.
think during our public hours, it needs to look and feel like a public garage. So the expected rates or the expected technology or the expected hours of operation all need to be aligned with our other garages.
And that's the feedback that I was looking
Okay.
for, so thank you. And everybody is in agreement with that? Yep. Okay, great. So we have the consensus, so now you're able to go forward to
Okay.
HPV.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
All right, moving on to 7C, nomination for appointments to the Police Advisory Board. And we start with number 1, correct?
Yeah, so
'cause this
Commissioner
is new.
Frankel and
Yes.
Commissioner Frankel, Deputy Vice Mayor Long, and Vice Mayor Boylston, you each have 1-year terms. I just want to put on the record so we're all
Yep.
clear.
Mhm. And then
And then
everybody
the
else is
mayor and
2.
Commissioner Burns have a 2-year term.
Right. All right, so we'll start with
I'd like to move the name Paul Cannon.
Tell already. Yes,
Sorry.
I'm going to be the
Second.
one, thank you. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, call the roll.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Long.
I'd like to nominate Eric Feldmanis.
Second.
Any questions, concerns? Seeing none, call the roll.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
All right.
I'd like to
Mr. Boylston.
move there's a lot of great names here,
I know.
especially ones that wanted to step back up. But I'm gonna put forward the name Miss Stacy Wright after your 2
That was another
nominations.
one.
Second.
All right. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, call the roll.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Kevin Laurie.
Second.
All right. Any concerns, questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes. And I'm going to move the name, I don't remember his first name. Markert? I think
Tom?
he's-
Markert?
Tom?
Thomas Markert.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to move
Yeah.
his name just
Second.
because you guys have gotten 3 of mine.
He's a reappointee. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Any concerns or questions?
No?
Seeing none, call the roll.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
All right, you got a full team there to move forward
Great.
with. Resolution number 252-23. Mr. Orris.
Good evening, Jeff Orris, Assistant City Manager. This item before you tonight, once again, we have another special event, impact event. This is actually a series of events to be held by the DDA. It's Art and Jazz on the Avenue. Hopefully you all are familiar with that. I know they've been doing it for a while.
Oh, gosh, everyone.
Simply, we've got 3 events on January 24th, February 28th, July 27th. The special event policy allows for an annual permit for multiple events on city property. The first event would necessitate the closure of Northeast 2nd Avenue from East Atlantic to Northeast 3rd Street. That would be the January 24th event. The February 28th event would close West Atlantic from Northwest 2nd Avenue to Northwest 6th Avenue. And the third event would close East Atlantic Avenue from Swinton to Northeast 5th Avenue on July 27th. The applicant's here if you have any questions.
Applicant.
Applicant. Good evening. I do have maps if you all need
Could
maps.
you send those
Sure.
down?
Yep. Yeah, those are, there's actually 4 in there because we did include all 2024, which is October, so it's out of the, sorry, the confusion. But, so yes, we are, so for art, although I didn't do a presentation, but Art and Jazz on the Avenue came back post-COVID. as a way for us to reignite our downtown and re-engage our community, both on our downtown commercial and our residents, and explore the downtown. And it is a art and music infused event that brings out our residents to meet the businesses that are in the area, as well as enjoy art and music and dance in the street. This is one of my parents' favorite event of their life here in Delray Beach, dancing in the streets since the 1980s. So it did get started around 1985 and really took us pause in 2011. We are looking to, as Jeff mentioned, the January 24th, we did move these from a Thursday night traditionally to a Wednesday when we reignited them, which is an off time of the week, and have proven since we've done this now, and we're in our third year, to be very successful. We're bringing out anywhere from, we just had the one this past October on Beachside and brought in close to 2,000 people beachside from 6 to 9:30. One stage, artists, people dancing, having a good time, and exploring a lot of new businesses that are there and old businesses. And it was probably the Seagates, one of the Seagates Atlantic Rail's biggest nights. We did also this past summer. We've traditionally had our the West Atlantic Art and Jazz has been in the summertime. We had to move it a couple times due to weather, and when we were in August in the sweltering heat with the businesses that are there and some of the neighborhood, we felt it really be nice to bring this and move it to February. It was actually suggested by some of the like Spady Museum and a few other of the vendors that were there, saying, can we move it to February or a time in the season when it's a little cooler? And so we suggested that, reviewed it with the CTAC team, and was approved through them, and would love to actually move it in February when it is also celebrating Black History Month. So we feel that that would be a great tie, and expand it a little bit to engage more of the community partners and bring out some of the different community vendors to be a part of that. And so that is in February this time versus the summer. So that is the February 28th event. And that would be from West Atlantic. From 2nd, we'd like to extend it a block, because traditionally it's been 3rd to 6th. We'd like to bring it from 2nd to 6th. So to engage the library and part of that area as well. So that is the Wednesday of the 28th of February, and then the July event is Wednesday, and it is East Atlantic Avenue, because that was one that we did leave out first when our first go around, and it was requested to bring it back. So that is our plan. Again, we traditionally look at the off time of year, off nights, and that's our goal. So happy to answer any questions.
So, just real briefly, my only concern, but I'm glad you said that it was Wednesday night, because I was thinking it was a Friday, is the section of West Atlantic, only because we divert, traffic through the communities that are lined with people who live there, and we make it very difficult, because the normal artery roundabouts are, that take us to the first from Swinton, are obviously not the utilized spaces, and now we're diverting traffic through where people live. So just keeping a mindful eye on that. If it doesn't work out, or if we start getting a lot of pushback on all this traffic, I know that they go through a lot when we have the parade and
Right.
everything else, and I just think that if we really squeeze that community continuously, I think we're going to start hearing back from them. And I just want to make sure that we're mindful of that these are residential areas, and okay.
Yeah.
So.
No, we monitor that, watch that with the past events that we had there with the police team, and how we're detouring them and looking at really coming up with a better plan. I think we've got a good team on the Public Works and Streets team to help that.
Good. Well,
so.
listen, then you'd have my support. I just don't want to,
I
want to be mindful of that. Anyone else? No? Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Thank you.
Mr. Ballston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
All right. 7E, Resolution 245-23.
The Vice
Madam-
Mayor, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
The Vice Mayor has to step down for this one.
Oh, okay.
And Madam Mayor, I'd like to take this one.
please.
Yes. go
And this is quite straightforward in that this is simply.
Wait, sorry. Let me just say for the record, he has a conflict of interest. That's why he's stepping down, and he'll be filling out Form 8. Thank
Okay.
you. 8B.
Yep. All right,
Good
go right
now?
ahead.
This is brief. This is simply amending the budget to accommodate the $25,000 opportunity typically made available to the Boys and Girls Club here in Dairy Beach, Florida. Given the aforementioned conflict, is being treated as a separate transaction consideration and therefore is before the commission at this time for consideration.
Okay, we always do that, right, every year?
Yes, ma'am.
That's our line item?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Any questions, concerns? Seeing none?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
All right. You made that big move for nothing, I think.
No, he's got the
Oh,
next
he's got
one.
the ordinance coming up. Thank you. All right, so we're at public hearings, and this is ordinance number 43-23.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, amending the land development regulations of the City of Delray Beach Code of Ordinances, Chapter 33, Police and Fire Rescue Department, Section 33.62, benefit amounts and eligibility, amendments subsection 1, maximum benefits to remove language defining the maximum benefit allowed under Internal Revenue Section 415 and deleting subsection J, required payment of pension benefits in its entirety, amending Section 33.70, direct transfers of eligible rollover distributions, by deleting the current language and replacing it with a new section titled Internal Revenue Code Compliance, outlining requirements for complying the Internal Revenue Code and the Secure 2.0 Act, providing a conflicts clause, providing a severability clause, authority to codify, and providing for an effective date. And this is second reading.
Okay. Mr. Dunkley.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Commission. Essentially, this ordinance is primarily to get the city in compliance with the new Secure 2.0 Act. And in terms of, in a nutshell, the Act provides for several things. And without belaboring you too much, it essentially was signed about a year ago, roughly, and it just provides for incentives and options for savings and such things as an increase in the required minimum distribution for retirees, expanding automatic enrollment in retirement plans, treatment of student loan payments as elective deferrals and things of that nature. So essentially we're amending our ordinance to be in comport with the IRS rules and regulations.
All right. This is a public hearing, so if there's anybody here that would like to speak to 8A, which is ordinance number 43-23, please step forward now. Seeing no one, public comment is closed. To the commission.
Motion to approve ordinance number 43-23.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
All right, moving on to ordinance number 50-23.
An ordinance of the City Commission, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 35, Employee Policies and Benefits, subheading Retirement Plan, by amending Section 35.089 Definitions, amending Section 35.091 Vesting, amending Section 35.097 Retirement Income, basis amount and payment, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date. This is second reading.
Okay. Mr. Dunkley?
Yes, Mayor, once more, the ordinance before you is essentially what it seeks is to amend the eligibility and the benefit provisions for the charter officers, the city's senior most appointed officers, namely the city attorney, city manager, and the internal auditor. And in a nutshell, what we're seeking to do here is to tweak the vesting percentages so as to be more in line with other municipalities. The impact, the actuarial impact of the benefit changes will be negligible. The funded ratio for the plan will go from 99.2% to 99.0%. The impact dollar-wise will be roughly $119,000, or 0.48% of covered payroll. The covered payroll for the entire plan is approximately $25 million, and the percentages will ramp up slightly in the earlier years, and they will decrease even below what the general employees will be accruing. So they will begin with a higher percentages in the earlier years and will taper off at the final 20 years of creditable service at a rate of 2% per year for average monthly final compensation. That, in a nutshell, is given the nature of the positions, we felt we had a conference with our pension attorney, and we felt that this was the most equitable tweaking of the vesting percentages to be in line with the positions. We did do some polling of neighboring municipalities. The FRS, they have a senior management plan. You have entities like Boca, Bal Harbor, Allendale Beach, Miami Beach, and Sunrise. They all have different vesting percentages for the senior most appointed positions. And I'm available for any questions that you might have.
All right, again, this is a public hearing. If there's anybody here that would like to speak to ordinance number 50-23, now would be the opportunity. Seeing no one, public comment is closed to the commission. Any questions, concerns?
No.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve ordinance 50-23.
Second. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Petrolia?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Boylston?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
All right, we're coming to a close here. Comments and inquiries on non-agenda items. Mr. Moore.
Yes, ma'am. I have two items briefly. First of all, given recent discussion and direction regarding the idea of quarterly town hall engagements to be supported by city administration, I'd like to share that we are planning our first event to that effect to take place in January. The current structure involves every last Thursday in the month of January, April, July, October for a quarterly exercise to that effect. And I bring this to y'all attention to this at this time to welcome any feedback or thoughts any of y'all may have individually over the next few weeks as we prepare for that event. In terms of topics of discussion, we'll facilitate. So the Office of the City Manager, in collaboration with the Department of Communications, will be facilitating this outcome, and we are now tentatively contemplating January 25th, 2024, a location to be determined. But again, I welcome any specific thoughts any of y'all may have individually as I continue to engage with y'all on a case-by-case or an individual basis.
Okay.
Secondly, I simply wish to offer best wishes for a happy and safe holiday season to all. And thank you very much.
We wish the same. Thank you very much. Ms. Lynn Jalen?
I have nothing, just happy holidays and happy new year.
Fantastic. All right, to the commission. Who wants to start? Okay, go right ahead.
First, an invitation. Sunday at 6 o'clock at the Silver Ball Museum. The Syracuse football team will be there for the Boca Bowls coming. So they've selected that location for the Syracuse football team, if anyone's interested in that. The second thing was the menorah lighting. I just wanted to thank everyone from city staff to my colleagues. With the rise of anti-Semitism throughout, we felt safe with our police department. The crowd, I think, was the loudest when I mentioned how this board passed a resolution in October supporting Israel. And, a lot of people have a lot of part in getting in the whole ceremony. So it's a true team effort, and I thank you all.
It was a beautiful night.
Yeah, it was spectacular. And the holiday parade, and I know we're going to talk about it. But the one thing that stood out for me was and I've done this now 12 years. It was the most diverse crowd I've ever seen. Not only
but all
West
the way up.
Atlantic, but more importantly, east of Swinton.
Yeah, that's
east
right.
of Swinton.
That's right.
So
notice the same thing.
it was spectacular.
Notice the same thing.
Happy holidays.
Go right ahead, Deputy Vice Mayor.
Well, yeah, first I want to echo Commissioner Frankel's comments. And this is my first year I got to do all these events for the holidays.
true.
You know, we had the tree lighting and the menorah lighting and then this parade, and these all just unbelievable events. And it's so great to see so many of our residents come out. I want to thank our residents for coming out. It's great to see that community and that pride in our city. I want to thank our police department. I want to thank the DDA, and I really want to thank Parks and Rec, who's just been killing it lately, truly. So I did have one thing I wanted to bring up. And just since we're talking about, vesting, which to me translates to employee retention, I think we're all very fortunate to have an extremely competent, stable leadership across all our city departments right now, especially with our esteemed city manager and our city attorney here. And I think we can agree it's crucial for employee morale and retention. So in the interest of maintaining that sort of stable leadership, I'd like to ask our city attorney and our city manager if there's a way that we could extend the tenure of our police chief, Russ Major, who has been doing an excellent job in the 16 months, correct me if I'm wrong, that he's been in his role. Chief Major's not only stabilized attrition to the police department, but took action to fill probably the most vacancies that department has seen in the better part of a decade. I think we have the best police department in the county. I've said that for a long time, and I think it's only gotten better under Chief Major's tenure. Therefore, in the interest of retention and building succession plans, I'd like to get my colleagues' opinions on the city manager and the city attorney drafting an ordinance to extend the drop of just the police chief position.
Can it be done?
I was understanding that we this is, well, first of all, I don't know.
I don't think the drop can be done. As you know, I did send a draft ordinance to Tallahassee,
Right.
and we're still waiting
Maybe
on
I
that.
phrased it wrong.
You can put, so the police chief and the fire chief are the only two members of those respective departments that can, under, I think it's 185, that can be in a separate pension plan. So all police officers have to be in a pension plan for police officers. They can't be in the general employees. However, those two figureheads, they can be in the general employees plan. So, I wouldn't feel comfortable in extending the drop because I don't think that we can do that. He could potentially go and become a part of the general employees plan, and then in that fashion, he wouldn't be he wouldn't be in drop anymore, but he could be part of that, join essentially that plan, and potentially continue his tenure with the city.
That's what I'd be interested in exploring then in that case.
It would be a city manager function. However, I will take that feedback into consideration.
No. That requires an ordinance change.
Well, aside and apart from that part, okay, yes.
That little detail. So yes, we would have to do an ordinance change, 2 readings. It would have to go to the General Employees Pension Board. So I mean, it's going to be a little bit of a process, but it can be done in that fashion.
Okay. Anything else?
Just happy holidays to everyone. That's all I got.
Is there a consensus for that?
Well, just on that note, there's definitely a consensus. I mean, for me, to explore that, I'd like to obviously have one-on-one conversations in regards to it.
I need to know more about it before we.
Yeah, but I do see the benefit in it. We always knew Chief Major didn't have a lot of time. I think a little bit more stability in that time before we, level up someone else, hopefully. But I'm open to the conversation.
I'll
for
explore
sure.
it with our pension council, and then we'll do one-on-ones to kind of give you the roadmap on what it's going to look like. And then again, there's a bit of a process because it does have to go into.
And I wouldn't want it to be open-ended as well. I'd like it,
Time specific.
time specific. Yeah.
Okay.
It would have to
that
be.
part is where the.
That's where I
manager
come in. That's what I was getting at earlier.
Cool.
Okay.
So
Cool. Great.
Commissioner Burns, anything?
Oh, I just wanted to say that I've enjoyed all of our holiday events. It just makes me feel so proud to be a member of Delray Beach, and it just keeps getting better and better every year. Compliments to the police department. I looked at my email and my texts. There weren't any incidents during those, so that was a great thing. And just happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you so much. And
How are you holding
Vice
up?
Mayor?
You're at everything. I mean,
Yeah.
you're making your own events on top of all the events.
There you go.
Yes. That's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor?
So same thing. This last week has been incredible, and I think a lot of the kudos goes to all the partners in City Hall and outside of City Hall. The parade, I think, was first time I got to go through it twice in one night.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty fun. So
Twice in.
I looped around and went through it again at the end.
You jumped on another float?
That time I walked through it. So I was involved in another float.
my
so
gosh,
went to the
wow.
front, went to the back. And so it was a lot of fun to see all those faces again, confused faces, but
I don't even know how you swam upstream.
It really was a great night. I just wanted to bring up, and I already received my update, but publicly an update on our city auditor position.
Mm.
Just wanted to bring up, and I already received my update, but publicly an update on our city auditor position. Just wanted to bring up, and I already got, I already received my update, but publicly an update on our city auditor position.
Recommendations will be forthcoming during your next meeting.
Okay, great. And that's because you have been, you put out RFP for
Yes.
an auditing firm.
We talked about a firm based on consensus and direction from the commission months ago to proceed with a contractual services audit firm. We went about that process. The first step actually contemplated the HR route, utilizing the Department of Human Resources for interview processes and that, but it was soon determined that a formal selection process in the form of a request for proposal was appropriate. So we've recently completed the process, all the necessary steps to enable recommendations to be brought before you during your next meeting, which is currently now scheduled for Thursday, January 4th, 2024.
Great.
That's 3 weeks, 2 days.
Wanted to make sure everyone had that update. And then it was brought up today. While I personally don't have an interest in altering the plan for Veterans Park and the parking for the
Lawn bowling
for the
and
lawn
shuffle
bowling
board.
I do think a point was brought up in regards to that building. I think that building is historically significant, and not only does it need to be repurposed, especially because I think the front of the building now going to be the back of the building. There's some adjustments that need to be made, but at the same time, I think that historically designating that building as well, or putting a plan in place after renovations would be wise.
It seems pretty rudimentary, the building itself. It is not a complex building by any stretch of the imagination, so I would imagine that we can probably do whatever we need to do with it,
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
But I agree, and let's see if we can't even get some funding for it.
Yeah.
through,
Yeah.
because it should be designated.
Well, it was offered by our Preservation Trust
exactly.
partner
So
to
I
work
think
through
that's
that.
a great idea.
Okay.
The hardest thing for what I know Price came up and spoke about, and I had this on my list as well to speak about, is the fact that we've had this lawn bowling and the shuffleboard courts, and but we will not have any parking as a result of not doing that. I mean, I don't know if he's aware of that, but that's where the parking's supposed to be going.
Yep.
So I think that might be a I don't know. That's going to be a moot point probably.
And if there is a huge demand to bring back any bocce or lawn bowling, which are two different things I've learned, we're going to have all this extra new park space. And if we want to put in a few courts because the demand is just through the roof, we can do that.
That's correct.
Yeah.
You can.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
Okay,
That
and
is it.
so,
Happy holidays.
all right, so let me start with my stuff. I'm getting a lot of issues with the sound and at the OG. I'm gonna start with the negatives first, so I can end with the positive. The OG, I'm sure, I don't know if everybody else is getting those letters, and, okay, yeah, and I'm still getting them. So I just wanted to find out when we're gonna have the ability to be able to enforce something so that we can get we even had some videos sent through, and it was pretty darn loud, inside of someone's house. So I'm just wondering, or inside their unit. I'm just wondering when we're going to be able to see something happen there.
Movement on the noise ordinance?
Yeah.
So just so we're clear, the current noise ordinance is enforceable, right?
Okay.
It's just more subjective, which makes it harder to enforce
Right.
because everybody's perception of
Right.
what's loud and unreasonable is different. So it is enforceable. What we're trying to do is move to the decibel system. I feel like January is going to be the time when we'll
Okay.
have time. The Chapter 2 changes just really took all our time. But my goal is to have it done, at least a draft and a workshop, bring it to you, bring the consultant to you, test it first, then bring it back for first and second reading, because I don't want to adopt something that we haven't tested, because then it doesn't make sense. I will say Mr. Rosen does have that device that you can set the decibels, and he did offer us the ability to kind of test it using his system, which I think was generous, and we may take him up on it. But my goal I'm going to just set the deadline wherever Anthea is. I hope she's listening. We're going to bring it back, I hope in February, and then the first meeting in March, so that we don't have a change in the commission, have to start all over again.
Okay, sounds good. And I'm noticing more and more, a lot of the front end, the consent agenda has Sourcewell, and we've talked about this before. Not seeing a lot of bidding coming out of the city, everything that we're purchasing, and I think that that's just something that we need to look at. I wanted to kind of bring it to the attention of my colleagues. I don't know if you've noticed the same thing, but I just wanted to make sure that you were aware. Third thing, we're talking about there's some interest in this new style of housing for affordable housing. And there's it feels like, because we're seeing this coming forward up at the podium weekly or each time we're here, I'm not sure that the community that is seemingly supporting this or is really understanding what this truly is. I think that there's some concerns, and I just wanted to voice that now, because we're going to be heading down that path in this particular type of affordable housing, where it's shared spaces, and it just takes me back to boarding rooms back in the day that encouraged transient housing more often than not, and we're talking about putting this into communities that are maybe a little bit more vulnerable and would not be necessarily watching what's going on, and I think that we have to really keep that in the back of our mind. There is an importance for having affordable housing. I do not say that there isn't, but I also say that we have to be careful what we bring in, because it can bring in more issues. And so I just want to put it out there. We need to do a lot more research on it, but I think that it's just something that I felt the need to say. We talked about the Veterans Lawn Bowling. There's a peace poll that is being asked to. You're going to give us you're going to follow up on that and just kind of give us a little bit of an understanding of what they're asking for, right?
Yes, I will be providing that during the January 4th meeting. I will be meeting with representatives of the Rotary Club of Delray Beach to get to the place you just described in advance of that time frame. And the request is for January 14th, January 15th.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure that my colleagues knew, because I got a letter about it. They were wanting to erect a peace pole, but I'm not sure if we don't even know if it was permanent, temporary, one day, whatever. So Mr. Moore is going to get some more information on that and then bring it back to us. Free tree giveaway, Saturday the 16th at the Historic Society. We should have mentioned that when we were having the workshop, but I'm mentioning it now. Holiday parade, second to none. Coco being our Grand Marshal, amazing. She is just so loved by the community, and it's just a wonderful weight off of my shoulders that we actually had her in a parade, because I know that this town was expecting that, and unfortunately we couldn't work it out with her schedule. The boat parade, I don't know if anybody had the opportunity of seeing that. Best ever. I've never seen anything so great, and as many boats as they had, and every boat seemed like one was better than the next, even the little tiny boats. They were wonderful. We're doing a great job at Lakeview. We'll have to work on the municipal, but I'm telling you, the Lakeview Golf Course is under some renovations, and they've been working on their greens and keeping people off the greens while they actually redid the greens, and now you're out there playing on the greens, and they're actually very, very nice. I'm getting just in my backyard, people stopping and saying, "Love that, what you're doing." So that was really good. And I think that's it. I think I hit them all. So just thank everybody for a great year, and happy holidays to everybody, and enjoy.
You too.
Come
Happy
join
holidays.
my club of the expanding middle. I gave you all a little bit of that, so enjoy. Midsection. All right, everybody. Have a great year. Rest of your year. Meeting adjourned.